Do you like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how are we talking?
Girls who are teenagers.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain giant.
For someone to come home with me, all you have to do is be Quit playing. I didn't do this stuff. Just use your common sense. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. This is not about music.
What up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we got some syrup to get into. Look, I know y'all not trying to come on my bus and get the tea, aka get the syrup, and you ain't hit thumbs up, because look, hitting thumbs up is free. I ask that everybody donate on my channel. Yes, I do. All y'all need to donate. But when I say donate, you don't have to spend any money. You can donate and keep all your money, all your pennies, nickels, and dimes in your pocket by hitting thumbs up. That's what means the most to me. It does mean a lot when people go the extra mile to bless the Cash App or to send a super chat or a super thanks. But those things aren't required yet. They're appreciated, okay? So look, y'all know I done messed up my sleep schedule just to make sure that every day I can come and give y'all what is going on day by day. So if you got $2, if you got $5 or whatever it is that you want to send to the Cash App, send it. Okay, send it. But if this ain't your pay week, that's fine. Hit the thumbs up button and we cool. Okay, we're talking about day 8 of Robert Sylvester Kelly and his trial in Chicago. Right now, this trial, for some people who don't quite comprehend the difference between this trial and the trial from 2008 that was based off of his 2002 indictment, it's not double jeopardy, although it seems like it is double jeopardy. That ain't the only XXX tape that R. Kelly has made, right? So there are multiple XXX tapes. Let's start there. But also, R. Kelly is also being charged with, along with his 2 co-defendants, with obstruction of justice, because there was a lot that went into an elaborate scheme, if you will, to ensure that the witnesses and the accusers who were going to testify on the behalf of the government, to ensure that they did not share truthful information with the courts or with law enforcement, or to ensure that they didn't testify at all. So these are some of the counts and the charges and what R. Kelly is dealing with right now. Although you'll see a lot of his fans, and I call his fans the P-Hop, saying this is double jeopardy. It's no, it's not. Do you think that that's the only inappropriate tape that Robert made? If you're his fan, you've got to know he's got multiple tapes, right? And I just hope y'all wake up and seek help one day. But if you don't, that is okay. Let's keep in mind here. All right. The P-Hop is welcome to call in at the end of the show. I'm going to drop the link. You can call in. I do require that you show your face. You don't have to have your face on camera the whole time, but you got to at least show your face. I got to know who is defending the pedophile and who's not. Okay. So come on in. Let's talk about today in the courtroom. You all know that this is Robert 11 months after he was convicted and 7 weeks after he was sentenced for sex trafficking and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I covered that trial, which got me mentioned by the New York Times. So thank y'all for making me so, kind of viral in that sense. But nonetheless, let's talk about what happened today in the courts. Okay. As you hit thumbs up, find a seat on the bus. Some of y'all are catching the replay, right? Which means you're chasing the bus. Some of y'all are here right now. Today was a fucking circus in the courtroom. Let me tell you. Okay. It was a circus. Do you hear what I'm saying? It was very combative in the courtroom today. It was very animated in the courtroom today, specifically from the defense side. If there was nothing else in that courtroom, there was definitely audacity. Very audacious day in court. And of course, there were a lot of jabs thrown from both sides, primarily from the defense. But don't think that the witness on the witness stand, because Yeah, it was only one witness on the witness stand today, right? Although court was definitely pretty lengthy, the witness threw a couple jabs as well. Okay, I want to talk about the conduct of Robert's lead attorney, Jennifer Bonjean. We're gonna get into that later on. Not even later on. It's gonna be one of the first things that we get into before we get into what happened today. But his attorney tweeted today, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm also going to pose a question to you and ask you how you feel about his attorney tweeting, because she's not supposed to be tweeting about the trial. Okay. So when I tell you that the courtroom, it was combative, right? Nothing but combative energy, full of animosity. It was animated as well. It was audacious. Nearly everyone in that courtroom was amused at one point or another. Okay. So you could literally hear the jury laughing in the courtroom today. Now, we talk about this individual on the trial who I'm going to call him the tape collector, because that's what R. Kelly hired him for, was to collect tapes that he knew were floating out here in the universe, in the nation. And he wanted to hire someone to get these tapes back, to retrieve them, to hunt them down. And he went by the name Showtime way back when. Look, if you caught up, you caught up, right? So he went by the name Showtime around about 2001. He was dealing with polygraph tests from R. Kelly's camp and all that other stuff, right? So he called himself Showtime then. And baby, when I tell you he said lights, camera, action, it's Showtime in this courtroom today, that is exactly what he did. It was a show. He had a reason for picking that pseudonym way back when, because he didn't want to give R. Kelly's polygraph test administrators a legal name for himself, right? But his legal name is Charles Freeman, and he didn't opt to have a pseudonym in court. So he didn't really have an issue with his full legal name being attached to this trial, okay? Let me just tell you, Showtime, aka Charles Freeman, aka the tape collector, which is what I'm going to be calling him all throughout this video, right? He definitely gave defense a run for their money. He did. He had some inconsistencies. Yes, he did have some inconsistencies as he was on the stand today during cross-examination. Very rigorous and turbulent cross-examination. But honestly, he didn't falter. Not once, right? At least not when it came to his demeanor. And so we're going to talk about that. And then, obviously we'll get into the details about how the defense was really worked up, really bothered, really annoyed, spooked and nervous. So much so that the defense had to end up saying, be quiet and pay attention. Okay. So when I tell you it was a show in that courtroom, it was a show in that courtroom. Okay. You also had, right, Mr. The tape collector, right? You had him chuckling, laughing, right? He's grinning. He's literally sipping tea. Not just sipping tea in a figurative sense. He's literally sipping out of his bottle of iced tea as he's on the stand, chuckling and literally amused nearly the entire time he's on the stand doing cross-examination. This is a federal trial. Does he have immunity? Yes. However, there is a stipulation, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And y'all know, if the government has any exhibits that they are showing in the courtroom that ain't child porn, right? I'm showing them to you, right? So if you are a channel member, you have been privy to these exhibits since early this morning. I posted these backstage for all of my channel members. So shout out to the people who have early access and early knowledge and things of that nature, because they joined the channel. Thank y'all so much. I know that there were a couple people who joined the channel before I even started the live. Okay. So look, y'all know what time it is. Today was quite hilarious. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was hilarious. Yesterday was more so like a movie, but look, hit thumbs up, have a seat on the bus. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to my mods. Shout out to the channel members. Y'all help this channel continue to do what it does. And let's get ready for takeoff, shall we?
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
Seen
All right. Someone says, so it was a real ghetto in court today. Pretty much. Pretty much. Let me see. What is it? 240 of us here. We got 148 thumbs up. That's cool. We can get a little bit more, but that's okay. Let me just do my due diligence, because if you're covering a trial that revolves around R. Kelly and his transgressions, right? It's gonna come up, right? We know what Robert was into. I have to give you a trigger warning. Gruesome details. It contains descriptions of sexual abuse and trauma or trauma. Not as graphic today as yesterday, and certainly ain't as graphic as the day that the jury had to actually watch those tapes. Okay, thank goodness that's behind us. Although that was a lot. Okay, so like I said, get on the bus. Don't freeload on this bus. Hit your thumbs up. Pay your fare. That's free. I ain't asking you for no money, although any donations are appreciated. Real quick, your mental health. I hope you're all right. Don't watch this video if your life is a mess, your spiritual warfare, your invisible problems, you ain't addressed them. Click off. I value mental health. Shout out to the new subs, right? I heard that we're at 16.5, and I literally say I've heard because I can't watch my subscriber count. I can't even respond to all of the comments anymore, and that bothers me. But if I spent all my time responding to the overage of comments right now, I wouldn't be able to give you the research and give you these videos. So if I'm at 16.5, which is what I heard in the chat, yo, thank y'all. Okay, thank y'all. Of course, before I get into breaking down today's topics and viral events, make sure that you subscribe. If you haven't already, tap on the subscribe button and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. Just make sure you think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. Again, if you are a supporter of R. Kelly, I'm looking forward to you calling in at the end of the show. I'm not looking forward to hearing from anybody else but the supporters of R. Kelly. We can be respectful. We can have a dialogue. But if you want to defend R. Kelly, call in at the end of the show and I will be dropping the phone line. Okay? So let's go ahead and get straight into it, shall we? Clearly, all of you all have hit thumbs up at this moment. Oh my goodness, I neglected the co-host. Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news. All right, so let's get into it. Yes, we forgot the co-host. Come on. All right. Give it a moment, Leo. That's it. Oh yeah, that's it. All right. Yep. You want to get down? Yeah. Get down for me, hon. Get down. All right. The co-host is out the way. This is a very sassy co-host. If you're new around here, this is my son, right? This is my child. Sometimes he tries to act like he's my boyfriend. He doesn't know if he's, but he's a controlling. He thinks that he runs this house, and you know, in some days, in some instances, he does. But this is our co-host. All right, he's very sassy, moody, nasty. Leo, get down. Get down. It's not a thank you, because it's not a question. Okay. Yes, he's a boy. I see somebody in the chat said, "Hey, tell her I said, hey, no, it's a boy." But yeah, you know, this is my co-host. Nonetheless, let's get right into it. It's been 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and get into it. We know that some of the counts against R. Kelly involve videotaped evidence, which could be difficult to refute. Other counts will largely rely instead on witness testimony. And boy, did we get a lot of witness testimony today, specifically on cross-examination. But yesterday, we had a lot of witness testimony, independent of cross, right? Just based off of the prosecution, kind of leading them with questions. Let me tell you this, though, thus far. Although the jury has seen these illicit and inappropriate tapes of R. Kelly having illegal relations, right? Like just unlawful, intimate relations with minors. They've seen this, right? 3 tapes, some 20 minutes long, some 2 minutes long, a lot. You know what I mean? Like he's urinating on a minor. He's got the minor saying, "This is my 14-year-old PUSSY." He's like, "What do you want me to do with this 14-year-old?" I mean, like the jury has seen this, right? And so when it became time for R. Kelly's side on the defense to rebuttal that, they literally still have not, right? The defense still won't. They haven't. And they will not deny that it's R. Kelly on the tape, right? They're focusing instead on dirtying up all of the witnesses / accusers instead. So the defense side, as it pertains to the innocence and fight for that, because there are 3 defendants. R. Kelly's not on trial by himself. His defense hasn't even taken the time to say, "Hey, that's not my client on that tape. Hey, this was altered. Hey, we don't think that this is a genuine da-da-da." It's like they've accepted the fact that it's him on the tape. And instead of being like, he did something wrong, he, you know what I'm saying, statutory grape. Instead, it's like, let's go ahead and deflect with the people who were minors at that time that he abused and the parents. Let's put the blame there. That's essentially what's going on here. Okay. So at one point, right, today, the tape collector, again, I'm calling Charles Freeman, right, who was the person that R. Kelly hired to literally collect the tapes, to go and get, because they were out there and he was concerned about them. I'm calling him the tape collector throughout this entire video. Charles Freeman, aka Showtime, is the pseudonym he went with back in 2001 when he was collecting the tapes for R. Kelly in real time. I'm calling him the tape collector in this entire video. Okay. And so at one point today, the tape collector mentioned the late singer Aaliyah. So Aaliyah literally came up in court today. There have been 3 people that have been brought up so far in this trial who have been deceased. Today, Aaliyah came up, making 4. I'll get into later. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a note about it right now with regards to people who would have been key witnesses and would have given valuable testimony that was going to incriminate Robert. 3 of them are dead. 3 of them are dead. Not a coincidence, in my opinion. And I said that when I was covering this trial last year in 2021 when it was up in New York. Okay, so let that sink in for a moment. Nonetheless, Aaliyah came up in court today. We know R. Kelly married Aaliyah when she was 15. He was 27 years old at that time. R. Kelly's sexual abuse of Aaliyah is part of his 2021 conviction in the Brooklyn federal court, for which he's already serving a 30-year sentence. And it's not, right, the testimony or the information with regards to Aaliyah, it's not a part of this current trial, which is probably the reason why the Judge Lennon Weber, we call him Judge Lenny, that's pretty much why, more than likely why Judge Lenny wound up telling jurors to just ignore the comment. What capacity Aaliyah was brought up in, not clear as of yet. However, I'm going to show you some transcripts in just a moment, because y'all know I get all the transcripts and information, all that stuff. All right. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay. You know, when I'm covering an R. Kelly trial, I start from outside the courthouse and work my way in. Still nothing. They acted crazy up in New York. Nothing going on here in Illinois. Right. What I do want to talk about is his lead attorney, Jennifer Bonjean. Her tactics. Okay. 334 of us here. 19. Can y'all hit thumbs up? Don't make me fight you. Don't freeload and get all my information for free. Hit the thumbs up button and pay your fare. That is your bus ticket, is hitting the thumbs up. Okay? Don't make me mollywop you. Swipe you across your face with my pocketbook. Stop playing. Okay? Baltimore, stand up. Can you hear my accent or not? Let's get into the information with regards to R. Kelly's attorney. Because this is something that I haven't covered, right? I didn't cover in any of the days of testimony, right? The transcripts literally for each day are like 300 and something pages long. I can't like read. It's not that I can't read, but I'm not going to be able to read it and efficiently provide you with recaps of each day in court based off of the transcripts alone. And the transcripts typically come out like the day after. At least I have access to the transcripts the day after. So I want to ask you if you feel like R. Kelly's attorney's appropriate, okay? Is R. Kelly's attorney's behavior is appropriate, okay? So here's a tweet. Now, mind you, she ain't supposed to be on Twitter, and I'm going to show you why in a second via some transcripts, okay? Via some transcripts, all right? I'm looking at the chat, and boy, what an interesting place that is. I see some R. Kelly supporters that made a troll account to come over here and comment. But nonetheless, let's take a look at R. Kelly's lead attorney and what she's posted. This is a tweet that actually garnered a complaint from the prosecution, from the government side. And we're going to go over that in just a moment. I'm going to show you exactly where it is in the transcript. Okay. So she says, thanks to everyone for their support. Robert appreciates his fans so much. He's in good spirits, and we're excited to continue this brawl next week, even as the government continues to pull what dirty trick after another. To pull what dirty trick after another? Girl, you know what I mean? I guess she's unfamiliar with spell check. What's she say? There's no crueler tyranny than that which is perpetrated under the shield of law in the name of justice. Girl, bye. Goodbye. We really don't care. This is the tweet that actually has me, and make sure you follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. My name is The Plain Shane. Same as you see it here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram as well, but I be on Twitter all the time. So she says, I'm not allowed to tweet, but I think I can retweet. So R. Kelly's lead attorney has acknowledged the fact that she is not allowed to tweet because it's true. Oh, I still read the transcripts in between and through each day. It's just that I'm not able to read 300 pages after I get off of my 9 to 5, and then sometimes I work late and then give you a synopsis based off that. So, as far as my schedule, please don't ask, because I barely get any sleep. I got an hour and 44 minutes of sleep last night. Okay, please don't start with me. All right, so let's get into the proof in the transcripts of how, why, and where R. Kelly's attorney is not supposed to be tweeting. Not about the trial, at least, anyway. Not about the trial, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. We're going to go through these things. Look, who else are you getting this type of information from? Who else are you getting daily recaps and precise synopsis about what's going on in the courtroom? Who else is showing you the court documents and giving you proof? I think I deserve the thumbs up. I might not deserve your money, and that's okay if you send $2 or $3, $5, but I damn sure deserve you hitting thumbs up. So hit that damn button. But let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. I want to show you the part specifically about social media. When the government asks that R. Kelly's attorney stop tweeting this way. Okay. Literally. Right. So here we are. There were some motions and some things being passed along. Right. So you can see that R. Kelly's attorney, who was Jennifer Bonjean, right? She says, someone from our New York team is joining us in case you see an unfamiliar face at our table. I just want to let you know. The court says, all right, everyone's there. You'll catch the prosecution saying, thank you, Your Honor. The government is requesting that the court order Miss Bonjean, who is R. Kelly's lead attorney. The court is asking that Miss Bonjean, that she stop posting about this trial on social media while the trial is pending. Okay. Now, Miss Bone Jean has been using Twitter to make disparaging comments, right? And this is literally in the document. She's been using Twitter to make disparaging comments about the prosecution, as well as other comments about jury selection and the evidence. And if I could just have a couple of minutes, Your Honor, the government's request should be granted for two main reasons. First, the tweet that came in over the weekend stated, "Thanks to everyone for their support. Robert appreciates." I just read that tweet. And, the prosecution continues and they say, "Comments like these violate Rule 3.6 of the Illinois Rules of Professional Conduct, which prohibits attorneys who are participating in the trial from making extrajudicial statements that the lawyer knows or reasonably should know will be disseminated by means of public communication and will pose a serious and imminent threat to the fairness of the proceeding in this matter." And so R. Kelly's attorney's extrajudicial commentary on Twitter is spreading into the general press. So even if the jurors themselves are avoiding the extreme coverage of this case, as the judge has ordered, her comments are making their way to media coverage of this case and thus may be read or repeated by people in the jurors' orbit. Okay? As the case law recognizes, R. Kelly's attorney's statements are likely to be given more weight because they come from an actual participant in the trial. R. Kelly's attorney's comment that the government is currently pulling one dirty trick after another goes directly to the fairness of this trial. In addition, while the jurors are instructed not to read coverage of this case, they're still permitted to use social media for their own interests. And social media sites like Twitter and Instagram involve scrolling, meaning that even if a juror is trying to avoid coverage, it may still pop up on their feed. Seeing comments from the lead defense attorney in this case about the fairness of the trial is not something they should be exposed to. And to my second point, Your Honor, the court does have discretion, right? The court does have the discretion to restrict R. Kelly's attorney's comments because there's a substantial likelihood that such comments would result in prejudice and it would interfere with the court's ability to conduct a fair trial. This issue came up back in 2007 for the family secrets trial that the judge presided over. Like this case, the case garnered extreme media attention. The judge ordered that parties in the case refrain during the pendency of the trial from making extrajudicial statements regarding the merits of the case, and that a reasonable person would believe could be publicly disseminated. Okay. For these reasons, listen, Judge, we're asking that the court order R. Kelly's attorney to stop posting and commenting about the fairness of the trial at all while it's pending. Okay. You'll catch R. Kelly's attorney saying, "Your Honor, so the government has completely forgot about the First Amendment. My one post on behalf of my client in a climate that has overwhelming negative pretrial publicity against R. Kelly, my one Twitter to his following, to his fans." And I don't think any of the jurors are following me on Twitter, but now, mind you, she talking about the jurors following her on Twitter, knowing damn well they gonna go home and follow her, or at least peek at her Twitter. She know what she doing. The same way, quick pause, the same way that I was, it was either yesterday or the day before, she pulled up text message. Matter of fact, yeah, it was the day before. So it was Friday, which was day 5. And so on Friday, she's sitting there with the girl from the tape, Sparkle's niece, Reshona Landfair. And she puts up these text messages between Reshona Landfair and the former prosecutor in that case. And she felt like the text messages between Reshona Landfair and the former prosecutor, she felt like they were suspicious, which is the reason why she submitted it into the court. Not to mention she put it up on the screen and it wasn't supposed to have Reshona Landfair on the text message. However, that information was not redacted and it should have been redacted. I think that R. Kelly's attorney intentionally has these slip ups. She'll slip in. I don't think anybody follows me on Twitter. Okay, but now that you've said it, they will, or at least they'll peek at it. When you had Reshonda Landfair, and this is a woman who opted to use a pseudonym, you had her name slip up on the screen for over 15 to 30 seconds. Don't think that doesn't, right? The jury didn't catch on to that. So she's hoping that these people do slip out in between these court proceedings and catch up on some information. She's leaving nuggets intentionally, but those are just my thoughts. Let's get back into this motion so that we can get into what happened today in court. My one post on behalf of my client in a climate that has an overwhelming negative pretrial publicity against my client. My one Twitter to his following, to his fans. And I don't think any of the jurors are following me on Twitter, R. Kelly's attorney says. But one comment to push back against the incredible negative pretrial publicity. It is with incredible gall that the government would suggest to muzzle my client, who has a First Amendment right. And this is, the jury's been instructed not to look at any media, let alone my Twitter account. I presume they're following that rule. This is again, a very general comment. It's not putting at risk the fairness of the trial. What puts a risk of the fairness of the trial is the overwhelming pretrial publicity that's been disseminated both by mainstream media, and then she says not mainstream media. Okay. She's trying to argue, but she's kind of messing up a little bit. Okay. So it's really quite unbelievable in a climate where my client can't get a fair trial in many ways because of the pretrial publicity. The government's going to complain about one Twitter remark that we have a First Amendment right to make. There's no risk. The only risk is to my client. There's no risk to the government's right to a fair trial. If the court, and again, as you can hear from the government, we're talking about one remark, and then the prosecution cuts her off. The prosecution says, Your Honor, there are more remarks, right? Because they brought up that one remark because they're standing in court right now, but there have been several tweets that R. Kelly's attorney has made online that she really shouldn't be making. The singular remark that they're bringing up was the one literally from the night prior, when now her excuse is, it was on behalf of my client. But she also tweets and retweets things that aren't on behalf of her client. They're on behalf of her success rate, if that makes sense. Okay. So, and also, let me see. The government prosecution ends up saying, Your Honor, there are more remarks. I chose that one because it's the most relevant for today's purpose, but there are many more other remarks. And also, if this continues, there are two other defendants in this case. R. Kelly's attorney's position is that this case should have been served and that Mr. McDavid's counsel is making arguments that conflict with her defense. We don't know what she's going to post about those issues as the trial continues. And we believe that the court does have the discretion. The case law is clear that the court's hand is much freer to enforce restriction on counsel as opposed to restrictions on the press. Okay, so there's a bit of a back and forth, but let me just go ahead and fast forward to the part where the judge ends up making a decision. Okay. The judge ends up saying, all right, because essentially what happens here is R. Kelly's attorney ends up agreeing not to post anything. Okay. So R. Kelly's attorney, you can see here, says, so if the court, I'll be happy not to post and offer that up as a solution, because that's what's being asked. The government, the prosecution side is like, stop her from talking about this case online while the case exists, for God's sakes. She says, okay, I'll be happy not to post and offer that solution, or to offer this up as a solution, but to suggest that somehow we've been posting in a way, or that I've been posting in a way that's interfered with this case. It's not accurate. And it's really hysteria on the part of the government, not her calling the government hysterical. Girl. So here's what the judge ends up saying. The judge says, all right, since you've made that offer, I'll accept it. Please do not post throughout the balance of the trial. Okay? So she was told, she agreed. Matter of fact, she suggested, right? I think she realized she was losing because there was more. I didn't read it all because we'd be sitting here all day. Again, these, the transcripts are literally 300 to 400 pages long a day, sometimes more than that. So instead of reading that entire debacle, I just wanted to give you a brief synopsis and let you know that the government requested that she stop posting online about this trial, but she ain't stopped. When we get back into what she's tweeted today, right? We see that this man here, and let me tell you about this man here. She says, she retweets a tweet that says, witness Freeman, which is the guy that we're going to be talking about all day today, because he was literally the only person on the stand. Witness Freeman, who is, again, the tape collector, asks defense attorney Jennifer Bonjean, are you calling me a liar? And Jennifer responds and says, yeah, I'm calling you a liar. I'm calling you a thief. And I'm calling you an extortionist. And this man added laughing emojis. Now, he's supposed to be, he considers himself to be a journalist. He considers himself to be, and you know what? That's his business, right? However, he is a hardcore R. Kelly supporter. He goes hard for R. Kelly, right? Like when I tell you he does exactly what the defense does, he tries to dirty up the witnesses and call them, loose, slut, prostitute, groupies who are thirsty, who deserved all the things. That's what he does, okay? That's what Dennis does. And so when you find R. Kelly's lead attorney legitimately retweeting this man, right? After and the transcript I just finished reading from was from August the 22nd. Today is the 24th, right? So this was days ago. This is Friday, right? And Jennifer was told, agreed. Matter of fact, Jennifer was the one who suggested R. Kelly's lead attorney that she wasn't going to tweet. However, she decides, like I said, if day 8 in R. Kelly Chicago trial 2022 isn't full of anything but audacity, it's that's what it is. Because everyone involved was audacious as hell. So she can't tweet. Oh, but I think I can retweet. First of all, it's not even like you just retweeted it, right? Because if we go to Dennis's page, Dennis is excited that you retweeted him, right? And so what Dennis did was you can see just, Dennis retweeted. He didn't quote retweeted. A retweet and a quote retweet are totally different things. I'm a proud representative of Black Twitter. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm there quite frequently. So it's not even like she just retweeted it without typing anything. She quote retweeted and tweeted out some words to appear above his tweet, which gives her and creates her own individual tweet. Please stop playing with me. Is R. Kelly's attorney playing fair or are they not? Let me know. Let me know. Because it's wild out here in these streets. It's wild out here in these streets. Now, let's get into what happened today. Throw some pancakes up, hit the thumbs up. Who else is giving you these breakdowns on the day of? Hit thumbs up, drop pancakes. We'll be right back.
So let's see if you're really about it. If you've been serious about what you've been saying about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. I found a spot for us to grab our hats, hoodies, affordable electronics, phone accessories, and gadgets from. It's over on edwerso.com. That's edwersow.com. Grab something for your hubby, your wife. Hey, I ain't encouraging that side chick behavior, but it's just in time for the holidays. So head on over there and grab your AirPod cases, hoodies, and affordable electronics. That's edwersow.com, edwersow.com. And I'll see you over there. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you like more of my particular brand of syrup.
All right, and we are back. Shout out to everybody in the chat. It is literally 5:03 a.m. over here in Baltimore. Baltimore, stand up. Put a 443, put a 410, put a 202 in the chat if you here in the Baltimore area. Some of y'all might be able to hear that I'm from Baltimore. Born, raised, still here in Baltimore. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Day 8. Yesterday, what we got into, just to help you understand where we are today, quick little 30-second recap. You had the tape collector doing a lot of hustling to get these inappropriate and illicit tapes of R. Kelly having intimate relationships, illegal intimate relationships with minors, right? And so he hired somebody to get the tapes back, which we're calling him the tape collector, right? Yesterday's testimony involved all type of stuff. It involved firearms. It involved intimidation. It involved private investigators instructing folks to strip naked, videotapes hidden between butt cheeks, child. Hundreds of thousands of dollars received, right? $1 million was offered by R. Kelly's camps just so that R. Kelly and his camp, just so that they could hunt those tapes down and bring them back to him. Obviously, this is part of what proves the obstruction of justice charge. Someone took the stand who was fired for stealing a handgun. It was definitely a hood street B-list movie, okay? We predicted yesterday at the end, if you remember, if you're watching Everyday Faithfully, shout out to you for being subscribed and hit the notification bell. We predicted yesterday that the defense was actually going to eat him up, or at least try to eat him up and take every jab they could. This is another witness that's so credible, almost as important as Reshona Landfair Sparkle's niece. Okay. We predicted that it was going to be pretty intense because of Bone Jean's opening statements where she referred to this individual, the tape collector, as being a liar, a con man, and an extortionist, a blackmailer, a criminal, and on and on. Now let's get into day 8. Right? The first person to cross-examine the tape collector is ironically not R. Kelly's defense, right? It's not Jennifer Bone Jean. Instead, because R. Kelly is not on trial alone, it is Derrel McDavid's attorney who goes in with cross-examination first. And I must admit, Derrel McDavid, right, who was R. Kelly's former manager. R. Kelly sit in trial with 2 other people. One is a former assistant, one is a former manager. Okay, so his former manager is, has somebody on behalf of them administering this cross-examination, obviously, right? Let's get into it. So what happens with this attorney on behalf of McDavid, they start off with their hands folded. Like the hands are folded and calm, hands folded calmly in front of them. But throughout their cross-examination, they quickly grew more animated. They're pointing their hands and fingers in the air for emphasis, even placing their hands on their hips. Like they get really into it and they get really worked up. I think it was partially because of what they wanted to convey to the courts and how hard they wanted to go at the witness on the stand. But I also think that the witness on the stand really got under their skin. Like, and you'll hear why as we continue with this testimony. Okay.
Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news.
So, McDavid's attorney comes in hot. They come in hot, although they come in trying to give off a calm demeanor. They come in and they say straight off the bat, quote, asking to, because again, the person on the stand that they're cross-examining is the tape collector, right? The person that R. Kelly hired to go hunt these tapes down. So McDavid's attorney is asking the tape collector, in general, you would agree with me that it's difficult to trust the word of a person who lies? The tape collector says yes. McDavid's attorney continues and says, would you agree that it's hard to trust people who lie, people who cheat, people who steal, and people who take advantage of others in order to get money? The tape collector says, agreed. McDavid's attorney says, have you ever told a lie about videotapes that have a connection to Robert S. Kelly? The tape collector says yes. McDavid's attorney, and they sound pretty indignant at this point, okay? McDavid's attorney says, how many times have you told lies about videotapes linked to Robert Kelly? It's multiple times, right? The tape collector says yes. Now, McDavid's attorney says, have you ever lied under oath about videotapes connected to Robert Kelly? The tape collector says no. At this point, the tape collector says no. Now, let me just differentiate between the questions he was asked before he got to that no. He was asked by McDavid's attorney, have you ever told a lie about videotapes that have a connection to Robert? They said yes. How many times have you told lies about videotapes linked to Robert? Multiple times. They say yes. Have you ever told a lie under oath about videotapes connected to Robert? They said no. They're like, yeah, I told lies, but not in court. Is what they're saying here. When I tell you stay tuned for this, when I tell you stay tuned for the way this testimony contradicts itself, right? So McDavid's attorney continues and says, after the question where they say, have you ever lied under oath about videotapes connected to R. Kelly? The tape collector says no. McDavid's attorney responds to this by saying, we're going to come back to that, Mr. Freeman. I want you to remember what you said, okay? Okay? So what's happening here is this attorney is ready to poke some holes. They're ready to poke some holes in the tape collector's testimony. Okay? That is what is going on here. So, McDavid's attorney then moves to question the tape collector about his February 2019 sworn testimony, which was to a Cook County grand jury, by the way. McDavid's attorney is asking the tape collector about this 2019 testimony where he stated, the tape collector stated, that he was trying to figure out who had the R. Kelly tapes. So he called R. Kelly's ex-girlfriend, Lisa Van Allen. And based on that February 2019 testimony, Lisa Van Allen told him that a man in Georgia had the tape. Now, this is the point where McDavid's attorney brings up an affidavit from from the tape collector, right, that stated the following. After that meeting, I spoke with Lisa on the phone. Lisa told me she gave the video to a man in Georgia. Lisa gave me the full name of the person, but I no longer remember his name. Right? Let me read that again. McDavid's attorney brought up an affidavit from the tape collector that stated that after he met and spoke with Lisa on the phone, Lisa told him that she gave the video to a man in Georgia and that Lisa gave the tape collector the full name of the individual in Georgia who had the tape, but the tape collector no longer had that person's name. Here's where we get into the contradictions. Yesterday, he said he got that information from McDavid. Now, right? What's happening is he's being caught up. He's being caught up on prior statements based off of an affidavit that he put it a few years ago or a while ago. And where he stated he got the information about the address of where to revoke the tapes from. He previously stated under oath, right, that he had got it, that address, the location to know where to pick the tapes up from. He stated that he had got it from Lisa Van Allen, one of R. Kelly's many ex-girlfriends. But yesterday in his testimony, and shout out to you if you've seen yesterday's video, fucks with you. He said he got this information from McDavid. He said McDavid told him what the address was down in Georgia, and he went and got it right away. So this attorney is efficiently pointing out the differences in his testimony and how they conflict with one another. So with the affidavit, right, and two entirely different testimonies, like I said, McDavid's attorney is doing what they need to do to successfully point out the inconsistencies. Okay? So now McDavid's attorney is going pretty hard at the tape collector, right? Mind you, the tape collector and McDavid, right? Although this trial, I feel like the trial primarily focuses on Robert. Like, it does. However, this person, right, McDavid's attorney and the tape collector, they spent 4 hours together. Like 4 hours, McDavid's attorney sat grilling, nearly interrogating, asking questions, trying to get him caught up to the tape collector, okay? Obviously, I'm not going through like word for word all of the 4 hours, but it was a lot. So that's really the bulk of today. So like I said, McDavid's attorney is going pretty hard at the tape collector. Again, they're indignant, they're bothered, because let me tell you something. Okay? And make sure you hit thumbs up. Is it time? Are we far enough in the video to play the song yet? I don't think so. I'm not going to play the R. Kelly remix until we get to like 350 likes. Okay? It's 526 of us here. We can get to 350 likes. And by then, I'll play the song. But nonetheless, McDavid's attorney is going really hard at the tape collector. They're continuing to be condescending. They're throwing jabs. They're a little worked up, and then it goes beyond being a little worked up. Like, they really end up kind of like yelling a bit and waving transcripts around in the face of, and not that they were necessarily close, but they're like waving transcripts around. Like, they were really animated and lively and worked up. They had the jury's full attention. I got to give them that, right? I do really extensive research on this stuff, and they really had the jury's attention in the beginning. We'll talk about when that fell off, okay? So, it's given aggressive cross-contamination, so much so that the attorney is asking a question really quickly, but while they're asking a question and the tape collector is actually answering the question, they're cutting the tape collector off. Like, they're cutting Charles Freeman off. Right? Charles Freeman literally says, I'm trying to answer your questions. So things get heated. Like, McDavid's attorney is pretty out of pocket. And it's surprising slightly because they've been so chill the entire time. They've been the less vocal, less talkative, or whatever. But when it comes to them asking questions to the witness on the stand, and then they won't even allow the witness an opportunity to answer said questions, suddenly it's it's an issue.
Out of pocket for that shit. Way out of pocket. What do you gain from that?
Okay. Out of pocket. Now, the tape collector is actually on the stand. Like I said, they're smirking, they're grinning, they're literally sipping slow. Shout out to Lovely Tea, right? Because they're literally sipping slow. They've got a bottle of iced tea. And I think that the tactic really worked. If you've got the defendant, who was the tape collector, on the stand, seeming like they don't really care, but trying to give answers like that really bothered the defense. Okay. As he sips on his tea while he's on the stand. You know what? Honestly, this is the first time, and I covered quite a few court cases, but you don't see a lot of people actually taking sips from beverages while they're on the stand. Like sitting at the table is one thing, and to think that you can be on the stand and anytime you want to pause or take a moment, you can sip some tea when you just kind of want to stall a little bit, because that's what taking sips of anything in court is about. When it's your turn to speak, you take that sip and people are like, oh, okay, they're taking a sip, and really you're getting your thoughts together. You're figuring out how to really what your strategy is and how you want to come at these people. What is your testimony going to be? Nonetheless, McDavid's attorney ends up asking, here things start to get a little bit crunk. Things start to get a little bit crunk, okay, in this courtroom, right? So McDavid's attorney ends up asking, because again, the tape collector smoking, grinning, all that, okay? And sipping tea, literally sipping a bottle of tea in the courtroom. So McDavid's attorney ends up asking the tape collector, is this funny? Are you having a good time? The tape collector said, yes, I am. Y'all asking somebody that is on the witness stand for the prosecution, is it funny? Are you having a good time? The man said, yes, I am. I said, he acting the whole fool. Here's the thing. Y'all had to understand. This is a man who back in 2001, he was leery of R. Kelly's polygraph test specialist, lie detector test, right? Experts. And he didn't even want to give up his name at that time. And what was the name he gave? He said, my name is Showtime. And I ain't putting my legal name. I'm going to put Showtime, whatever. If his name was Showtime in 2001 and it's 2002 and this man said it's Showtime, let's put on a show. Is this funny? It's funny. Am I having a good time? Absolutely. The man is having a good time. In this courtroom on the stand. His name is Showtime. What did you expect? What did you expect? McDavid's attorney then says, really asks the tape collector, like, are you bothered that you held on to alleged child pornography for 20 years? The tape collector said, no, I'm not. McDavid's attorney says, you're not upset for what you've done? The prosecution objects. Objection, Your Honor. And the judge sustains, meaning the judge obliged to that request. That the question from McDavid's attorneys was a little out of line and done a little bit too much. So now we get into conflicting testimony from the tape collector, or alleged conflicting testimony based off of the perception of McDavid's attorney, right? So McDavid's attorney says, you think this woman was just hanging out alone watching child porn? The tape collector says, none of my concern. The states he didn't know, he says it's none of my concern. And he stuck the tape in and he pushed play. Like, that's essentially what he did. He states that he didn't know what it was until he stuck the tape in and hit play. But he initially said it's none of my concern, right? And so in the testimony from yesterday from the tape collector, she ended up saying that she went to a house in Georgia and found the R. Kelly sex tape hanging out of the VCR. However, the tape collector in 2019 stated to a Cook County grand jury, stated that he searched among a bunch of different tapes, and one of them had R. Kelly's name and the name of the girl in the tape on it. So, in one breath, he's saying, look, and like I said, like the title of yesterday's video was like, he knocked on the door and he's like, hey, I'm here to get the motherfucking tapes that you stole from Robert Kelly. Apparently, the person pointed back to that TV. There were only 3 VHSs in his orbit. He took them 3 test tapes. He went on about his business. But then when we get into comparing that testimony from yesterday to his 2019 testimony, where he said there were a bunch of different tapes I had to sort through. One of them had R. Kelly's name on it and the name of the girl. Totally different 2 pieces of testimony. It's not even the difference of I found it right away and there were only 3 tapes and there were a bunch of tapes. It's the fact that you mentioned nothing about the name of R. Kelly or the girl. You literally said you had no clue of the 3 blank tapes that you took from the girl's house. That's what he said based on yesterday's testimony. But in the testimony from the Cook County grand jury that he provided, he said he had to search among a bunch of tapes. And he saw R. Kelly's name. 2 totally different things. Either R. Kelly and the participant's name was on the tape or it wasn't. Either it was easy to find or either you were aware of the tape that you picked up at that time or you weren't, because according to yesterday, he said he just took 3 tapes and then he stuck the tapes in, and one was a Disney movie, one of them was like a family video, and one was the illicit tape. That you know, and given a story like that, it's like you took 3 tapes and you had no clue which was which. But your prior testimony said, yeah, R. Kelly's name and the girl's name was on the front, which would make it easy to identify, right? 2 totally different stories, right? So these are the inconsistencies that are being highlighted on the stand. So now you have McDavid's attorney who is backing out of the conflicting testimony, right? McDavid's attorney is backing out of the testimony, not adding up, but they're leaning into another direction. And so McDavid's attorney ends up mentioning how the tape collector's lawyer, at the time he began cooperating with law enforcement, they're talking about Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti is a deceased, okay? No, I'm sorry. Michael Avenatti is not deceased. Let me take that back. Correction. Michael Avenatti is not dead. However, Michael Avenatti is in jail. So this is what is being brought up. Okay? This is what's being brought up. And if you haven't already taken a moment to hit thumbs up on the video, please hit thumbs up on the video. All right? It's free. Some people send cash apps and things of that. And shout out to the people who have. There are a couple people. Shout out to Tracy, Natalie. The last one just disappeared, so I'm so sorry about that. But shout out to you all. Nonetheless, let's continue. Brittany, Natalie, and Tracy. That's who it was. So McDavid's attorney, they're focused on inconsistencies, but for a moment they say, you know what, let's go in another direction. And McDavid's attorney ends up mentioning how the tape collector's lawyer, the tape collector's attorney at the time, he began cooperating with law enforcement in the R. Kelly investigation. Obviously, that was Michael Avenatti. Okay? Michael Avenatti is also who represented Stormy Daniels in litigation against Trump. And so this is something that they feel is really important. Again, you find like the former attorney of your opposing party, the OP, the ops, right? You find out that their former attorney is someone that's literally in jail for doing dirt because they're a disgraced legal professional. So yeah, let's bring that up. They got to be on the wrong side of history, right? And so McDavid's attorney ends up saying, didn't Michael Avenatti tell you that that you could make money off of these tapes? So the prosecution objects. They give a reason as to hearsay, and the judge sustained. So it seems like they reframe the question, right? McDavid's attorney says, the reason why your lawyer isn't here is because he's in federal prison, which is true. Like, Avenatti is a former attorney of the tape collector. And we'll get into some charges a little bit later, because it's going to come up again when R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, when it's her turn for cross-examination. Okay? Now, Avenatti has since been convicted on various criminal charges, extortion, stealing from a client, all that other stuff. But nonetheless, again, it was 4 hours. Okay? It was 4 hours of intense questioning from McDavid's attorney alone. McDavid and the tape collector spent 4 hours together in court. Like, it's a lot. And so this is where he really starts acting a fool on the stand. But also, McDavid's attorney is very audibly and very visibly exasperated. I mean, like, they are intensely irritated and frustrated.
Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news.
Okay? So, let's get into McDavid's attorney. McDavid's attorney ends up saying to the tape collector, I fell out when I saw this. I'm not even gonna lie. McDavid's attorney says, do you have a hearing problem? The tape collector said, it seems like you have a reading problem. I mean, like, who need to stop getting smart? Well, who, again, we're not going over the whole exchange. That like, if you want to read the transcripts, you can find the channel. I do have the transcripts. But do you think that I have time to create these videos and then read 400 pages to you in addition to my real life? I wouldn't even have a voice, right? So we're not going to go through I go through the most poignant exchanges that I feel really contribute to the overall gist or synopsis of said day in court, right? But the nerve of McDavid's attorney say, do you have a hearing problem? The tape collector said, seems like you got a reading problem, bruh. I said, I don't know who need to stop it. Somebody need to stop it.
Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this. You go to bed at night, you lay there, and you take responsibility for yourself.
He said, I got immunity and I'm finna he said, I'm finna act a fool. He got immunity and he said, I'm gonna act how I want to act on this stand. Like, what? Not to mention, here's the icing on this cake, right? McDavid's attorney, do you got a hearing problem? I think you got a reading problem, bruh. The judge is literally 85 years old. And I do remember earlier on, the judge ended up saying on the record and to the courts that he does have hearing problems, right? So the judge is sitting here. You got the defense asking the prosecution, you got a hearing problem? The judge literally says, did you just ask the witness if they have a hearing problem? They said, yes. They said, oh, okay. When I tell you the circus has arrived, baby, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean, because, baby, no, you're not up here wasting taxpayers' dollars with these rhetorical questions, child. Y'all already wasted enough. Y'all already. Okay. The circus is here. You hear me? All right. The circus is here. It's Hawks, baby girl. I just knew you was gonna be asleep. I'm shook you even woke. Let's continue. So McDavid ends up saying, the fact of the matter is, you never went to Atlanta to retrieve the tapes, but you were in fact extorting R. Kelly. The tape collector says, no, that's not how it went. So now McDavid's attorney is taking the tape collector through his previous sworn statements about the first meeting in Kansas City. Remember, that was pretty much a central location as it pertains to yesterday's court proceeding. So McDavid's attorney says, nowhere in your Cook County documentation under oath description does this Kansas City meeting, it doesn't say the name Derrel McDavid, does it? The tape collector says, nope. Okay, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, look, what does my client got to do with this? McDavid's attorney literally says, nowhere in your Cook County paperwork, under oath, right? The description of it, none of that in Kansas City, that meeting, none of it says the name Derrel McDavid, does it? The tape collector says it doesn't. And so now McDavid's attorney circles back to inconsistencies, right? Remember, like prior to this or whatever the case is, inconsistencies were where McDavid kind of wanted to start, right? So specifically, the tape collector's varying timelines in the grand jury statements, you know, this is the only time that the tape collector gets flustered on the stand, and they end up saying that the statements, which were affidavits or affidavits, depending on how you pronounce it, I use them interchangeably, not to lie, right? Which were affidavits, they confirmed in front of the grand jury. The tape collector said, listen, these are summaries that compress events. So let me just break that down for you, right? Like if you understand what I'm trying to say here, a lot of legal terminology, right? McDavid's attorney wants to highlight and put a magnifying glass off of the lack of consistency and fluidity of the various different testimonies of the tape collector. This isn't the first time that the tape collector has been a part of a legal proceeding with regards to Robert. Okay. And so some of the timelines and some of the series of events, they just don't necessarily add up. And so he's being questioned on the stand about why these inconsistencies here, right? Especially as it pertains to the affidavit, which isn't a physical appearance, it's court paperwork that you submit. So they're like, why these affidavits don't match what you saying here, what you said then? Why is all of this different? And so the tape collector is like, look, when you're looking at these affidavits, there's summaries. There's summaries that compress events. That's what was said. Okay. So if you haven't already taken a moment to subscribe to the channel, make sure you do. We've literally got about like 3.5, somewhere around like 3.5 more weeks of this R. Kelly trial, and I will be covering it day by day by day. So you definitely want to make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the updates. Okay, it could be early, it could be late. I requested off a couple of days. Y'all don't know which days they are, and I ain't gonna tell you. Okay, but let's keep going.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy.
So here's what I want to spend some time getting into. Okay, we got some polygraph info that I want you to see, and I'm gonna put it on the screen a little bigger. Okay. This is the polygraph information and consent form between Showtime and the one of the two individuals that took the stand that worked for R. Kelly. R. Kelly hired more than one polygraph expert to administer polygraph tests. Why? Because he had tapes. where he was having intimate relationships with minors, and then he hired somebody to hunt those tapes down and get them back and keep them from the general public. But even if or when they returned the tape, he wanted to ensure, did you show it to anybody, sell it to anybody, did you make a copy, is this the only one, can I really trust you? And so that's why when he hired somebody to get the tapes back, he hired somebody to also take a polygraph test as well. And so this is some of the actual documentation, some of the court exhibits. Y'all know when I cover a trial, I'm pretty thorough about it. And so we get into the court exhibits. This is the polygraph information. I'll leave this on the screen for a while. If you are a channel member, you already are privy to this. You already have access. You've already zoomed in and read it on your own. And then we're going to get into the contract in a minute as well. Okay. This is one of the documents that the polygraph expert, and both of the polygraph experts that took the stand were also retired law enforcement officials, right? They were cops. And what one of them ended up saying is like, this Showtime guy, the tape collector, wouldn't cooperate. They didn't want to put their legal name on it and all that other stuff. Okay. So the tape collector actually, while they were on the stand, they accused McDavid's attorney of jumping all around in the timeline and misconstruing his previous statements. Okay. So that's that. If you want to screenshot, zoom in, you can, if it's possible. This is the contract. Now, mind you, this is a contract. We know that there's $140,000 total in this contract, despite the fact that the tape collector has stuck to their testimony that they were supposed to get $1 million total from Robert and his camp. So you can see it says $100,000 here. The $40,000 here are for expenses, and so that's why I say there's $140,000 connected to this contract, and not the $1 million. But we went over how and why this contract didn't reflect $1 million, although that was the agreement with R. Kelly and his team members, and why the contract and the verbal agreements are two totally different things. We went through that yesterday. So the tape collector accused McDavid's attorney of jumping all around in the timeline and misconstruing previous events. And so this is pretty much because the tape collector, it seemed like some of their testimony was all over the place as well, but we'll get into that in a moment. At one point, McDavid's attorney actually showed the tape collector paperwork from a polygraph expert, a lie detector expert, right? Suggesting that the tape collector had taken a lie detector test the same day he delivered a tape to Palladino. If you've been following every day, this is just day 8. Shout out to you if you didn't caught parts 1 through 7. Palladino is actually the private eye, the private investigator / detective that R. Kelly hired to just help to kind of oversee and facilitate the return of the tapes. This is a private eye or private detective or investigator who is pretty famous among celebrities. So they were in high demand as it pertained to celebrity protection. Okay. So the tape collector is like, look, I delivered this tape to Palladino, the private investigator. So McDavid's attorney doesn't believe him, and they basically kind of leave a sly remark and says, so you say. Okay, so you say. So, look, the tape collector is saying that, look, McDavid's attorney showed up, right? Showed me paperwork from a polygraph expert and suggesting that I'd taken a lie detector test the same day that he delivered the tape. So the tape collector told Cook County's grand jury that he gave a sex tape to Palladino and that he signed a contract to be paid the same day, and that then he swapped the original tape for a dub, right? So there's just like a lot of technical exchanges going on here. It's just like a lot of finger pointing happening at this time. So to reiterate the tape collector's testimony from yesterday, he stated that he signed the contract prior to retrieving the tapes from whoever, right? From the girl, the TV, the VCR, the man, because there's so many different pieces of testimony. Like, what is it really? I can see that there have been legitimate discrepancies in the testimony. They don't always line up, okay? And so, like I said, he signed the contract after, okay? So his rebuttal to the contradictory prior statement or claim that he handed the sex tape over and then signed the contract, right? He says, I would not go out of town to rob somebody of a videotape without a deal to get paid. So to reiterate, the tape collector's testimony from yesterday, right? He stated he signed the contract before he was in pursuit of the footage. His rebuttal is that he handed the sex tape over and then he signed the contract, stating that he wouldn't go out of town to rob somebody over a videotape without a deal in place to get paid. So McDavid's attorney quickly shifts, right, to accusing the tape collector of making contradictory statements about whether he knew the contents of an R. Kelly tape before he started hunting it. And so previously under oath, the tape collector said that he'd been told before he even went to Atlanta that R. Kelly's camp was trying to track down and recover, some sex tapes. And so McDavid's attorney feels like it's not making sense and that's bullshit. McDavid's attorney ends up saying, you do understand that what you're saying doesn't make any sense, right? The tape collector says, no, it does. It makes sense. McDavid's attorney says, it makes sense to you. And so McDavid's attorney even chastised, right, several times, right, nearly yelling and telling him to be quiet and to listen. This attorney is either between completely fed up or really trying to put on the theatrics for the courtroom. So McDavid's attorney ends up saying, the truth is, the reason none of this makes sense is because you never went to Georgia to hunt for a tape, did you? The tape collector says, no, I did not. Okay? I'm sorry. Excuse me. I totally jumped the line. That's totally wrong. I was wondering, I'm like, why does that sound wrong? Because it is wrong. And I got to admit that, right? McDavid's attorney says, the truth is the reason none of this makes sense is because you never went to Georgia to hunt for a tape, did you? The tape collector says, yes, I did. And then McDavid's attorney continues and says, you heard there were rumors of sex tapes with R. Kelly on the street before you talked to Jack Palladino, didn't you? The tape collector says, no, I did not. And so essentially what they're trying to say is like, look, you wasn't trying to collect a tape because you were hired and then told that there was a tape out here and you were trying to help, just kind of alleviate some collateral damage here, right? What happened was you already had access or you were privy to the tapes because they were already out in the streets and you tried to threaten them and use that as leverage in order to extort Mr. Kelly. This is the alternate theory that Mr. McDavid, that his attorney is throwing out here. You weren't trying to help Robert. Robert ain't call you. He ain't hire you. You already were privy to them tapes and you had access to them tapes and you used them as leverage. All of which the tape collector denies. Okay. So McDavid's attorney points out that R. Kelly employed Palladino, who is a famous investigator for the celebrities, as I stated earlier, and that the tape collector has said that Palladino already had the name and address of the man that they believed had the tape, but they sent the tape collector instead. Okay? So they're acknowledging, like, look, we send the tape collector, right? The tape collector. Hit thumbs up, put the thumbs down. I gotta let the cat out the room. I'll be right back.
It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you'd like more of my particular brand of syrup.
Right, and we are back. He said the tape collector sound like a BET movie. I guess it do, but I'm like, look, that's the simplest thing I can call him. You hear me? Because I am not finna go through his name and then say his name and remind you of his role and his position within this whole case, within this whole scheme. I might as well just go ahead and say who he is, what he doing. That's what he doing. Okay? Leo, are you okay? Are you okay? Go on about your business. Bye. Why you come up here? What you up here for? Come on, go on get it. Thank you. All right. So here we are going back in with McDavid's attorney. Okay. The truth is, McDavid's attorney says, the truth is, none of this makes sense because you never went to Georgia to hunt for the tape, did you? The tape collector says, yes, I did. McDavid's attorney says, you heard there were rumors of sex tapes with R. Kelly on the street before you talked to Mr. Palladino, didn't you? The tape collector says, no, I did not. Now, McDavid's attorney points out that R. Kelly employed Palladino, who's a famous investigator, and the tape collector, and said that Palladino already had the name and address of the man that they believed had the tape, but they sent the tape collector instead. Now, McDavid's attorney basically says, with Palladino being one of the country's most renowned private eyes, that he would have never, that R. Kelly would have never hired the tape collector to collect these tapes. Okay? There's some people here that just want to say free R. Kelly. Just hold on, buckle your seatbelts. Call in at the end of the show. So McDavid's attorney continues and says, R. Kelly sent you R. Kelly sent you a t-shirt salesman to go get it. Not calling the man the t-shirt salesman. Here's the thing. The t-shirt salesman. The tape collector actually, and I'm not trying to make excuses because I do feel like he's foul and he's nasty, and I just don't, difficult for me to really sit with the fact that they have immunity, knowing all of the handling, saving, the duplication that they have played a part in as it pertains to child pornography. Like, it's just sick to me. However, to call him a t-shirt salesman when he's really like in a music merchandiser, you know, anytime an artist, specifically in the R&B sector, they need some sort of a merchandise, that's his role. And it is a really big and it's a really serious and powerful role. So to try to make it seem like he cleaned toilet, he sent you a t-shirt salesman. Like, but okay, like that's part of y'all tactic. Y'all want to dirty the witnesses and the accusers up, right? I get it. So the tape collector confirms that R. Kelly sent me, right? Not that they're not sitting here fighting with the fact that the labeling of a t-shirt salesman, but they're like, yeah, R. Kelly sent me. And the tape collector sticks to his version of events. But we know at this point that McDavid's attorney over on the defense, they're belittling the shit out of this man, like literally. However, with these insinuations, McDavid's attorney is literally trying to flip the script. Like, trying to flip the script. Like, that's just what it is to say things enough times to get the jury to hear something that they can latch on to, that they're going to remember despite who's right or who's wrong. Like, that's just what they do. Right? So, McDavid's attorney says that Palladino, Jack Palladino, the private investigator or private eye that R. Kelly hired, they passed away in 2021. But Palladino kept detailed notes. And according to what the defense is saying, is that Palladino kept detailed notes. And they were able to retrieve some notes that revealed that the tape collector approached him. And that's that. So just sit on that for a moment. Okay? Let me take a sip of my damn beverage, because it's a lot of information and I could read it very fast, but that might impede comprehension, which is like, the man who has passed away, who R. Kelly hired to be the third person, matter of fact, who would have been a key witness giving testimony against R. Kelly, would have been subpoenaed in to the courts. Third person, that's the mysteriously passed away. Gone. And they're saying, well, look, they passed away, but they kept notes, and the notes said that you approached him. In other words, saying that, look, R. Kelly didn't hire you, floating out the theory or realization that R. Kelly didn't hire you to take back a tape. What happened was you was busting down R. Kelly's phone because you had found an illicit, crude, lewd tape, and you wanted to make some money off of that. So it's not that R. Kelly, which is what the attorney is trying to say, R. Kelly wasn't trying to get you to buy no tape back. You already had your hands on a tape, and you decided to use that as leverage, which is why you wanted money. That is the theory that's being thrown out here. And I'm hoping this is making sense. Okay? Let me take a sip. Y'all cracking me up in the chat. Y'all are crazy. Y'all are very wild. Okay? So, McDavid's attorney continues with the following. Are you also denying that the reason R. Kelly hired Jack Palladino was to deal with you? Because you were calling him and you were saying that you got sex tapes. And that's how this all really happened, isn't it? The tape collector said, no. The tape collector makes this denial crystal clear. Okay, crystal clear. And so now McDavid's attorney then asks, why didn't you turn the tapes over to police? Now, mind you, they're asking this because the tape collector admitted that they had tapes, copies that they had made up until 2019 when they were contacted by, until they were contacted by their attorney. And the attorney was like, look, you can get in trouble. Give me the tape. I can safely hand it over to law enforcement. Okay? So again, in response to McDavid's attorney's question, which is, are you also denying that the reason R. Kelly hired the private investigator was to deal with you? Because you was trying to use the sex tapes as leverage. And that's how it happened, right? They said no. Makes the denial clear. And then the tape collector continues and says, I was hired by Robert Kelly to complete a job. I had a job to do. McDavid's attorney says, the truth of the matter is that you tried to shake down or extort Mr. Kelly for money, right? The tape collector says, no, that was your client, Derrel McDavid. They getting smart, okay? They getting smart. Okay? Let me answer this question in the chat. Someone says, how does this lead to obstructed justice? So, obstruction of justice means that there's something that the government is trying to do to protect someone or do the right thing, or there's a court proceeding in place, right? And obstructing justice means that they're trying to get down to the bottom of it. There's an investigation, i.e., and or a trial, a proceeding. And if there are people getting in the way and trying to rig it, i.e., they're looking for evidence, they're looking for witness testimony, and there are people bribing people and trying to pay things off in hopes that those individuals won't reveal all of the known information to the courts, to the judge, to law enforcement, etc. Right? The pursuit of justice is trying to do the right thing. And so if you're obstructing justice, it means that there's a legal proceeding in place and you're trying to interfere with that. You're trying to throw the results of said situation to benefit you. That's the definition. That's the definition of obstructing justice. Him and his two co-defendants had an elaborate scheme, which has been laid out fairly well, if I may say so myself, in court, in an attempt to obstruct justice and hide all of R. Kelly's egregious behavior and lewd and crude behavior with minors over the span of 30 years. That is the definition of obstruction of justice. Paying money, witness intimidation, and all this other stuff. This is what helped him to successfully rig the 2008 trial. Okay? If there are any R. Kelly fans in here, look, you can be here, be respectful. There's an opportunity for you all to call in at the end of the show as well. So let's pick up where we left off. We're talking about the tape collector. The tape collector says, I was hired by Robert Kelly to complete a job. I had a job to do. McDavid's attorney says, the truth of the matter is that you tried to shake down or extort Mr. Kelly for money, right? The tape collector says, no, that was your client, Derrel McDavid. Now, Derrel McDavid's attorney floats another alternative theory out and saying that the tape collector gave Palladino, who was the private investigator, that R. Kelly, the private eye, the famous one that all the celebrities were kind of like fighting over at that time. The tape collector gave the private eye in 2001, right? In 2001 was showing R. Kelly having sex with an adult woman, okay? And that the tape collector, quote, got it off the street, got the tape off the street, and not from someone in Georgia whose name and address they can't recall anymore. Again, pretty similar to the alternate theory that I was talking about earlier. Is that, hey, you didn't even go to Georgia to collect the tape. You already had the tape. You used it as leverage to get money. R. Kelly came to you, or whatever the case is, and somewhere along the line, you said, I want $1 million for this tape. Whether it had been to retrieve the tape, or whether it had been for me to isolate the tape and give it to you and make sure it didn't get out to anyone, right? That's the theory here. The tape collector acknowledged that after he recovered a tape in 2001 that allegedly depicted R. Kelly sexually abusing a 14-year-old girl, we know this Reshona Landfair, who is Sparkle's niece, he intended to give a copy to a friend. Whoo! That's the part that got me. Like, wait a minute. Let's shut this thing down. You mean to tell me, and this I know he's a dirty buzzard. I'm going to take it back with the terminology. You a dirty buzzard. A buzzard. You attained this nasty tape. You recovered it. And you intended to give a copy to a friend, but that friend's girlfriend said, oh, hell no. Get that shit out of here. We're not keeping that. We don't want to have anything to do with it. Again, he made several copies of this tape. He made several copies of this tape. I don't believe that the tape is really dead. He said he got the tape. He said he made 3 copies. But then when I got down to the math and the numbers of when he finally handed it over to his attorney in 2019, things still weren't adding up. He always had an extra copy on end. And so, how nasty can you be? Should we go to the bush? Have we been to the bush? Let's go to the bush. No, man. Do I want to say what I want to say? Look, I seen the tape years ago when it was fresh and I didn't even know it was. And no, you know what I'm saying? And I was at somebody else's house and it was just like look, I might explain backstage how I saw the tape, right? Years ago. But to try to get somebody else to take it and their girlfriend got to step in and say, no, get out of here. You fucking creep. We don't want child porn in our house. What is wrong with you? Get out. I feel like the only way you can really admit to that on the stand is if if that person literally called the police on you. Let's go to the bush.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
So, McDavid's attorney's next line of questioning seems like it might really give us a glance into McDavid's offense. And I really want to know what you all think. Look, it's 600 of us here at 3:57 in the morning. It's 4 a.m. Okay. I put in a lot of work to give y'all these videos. So if you can't send $2 or so to the Cash App, if you can't send a super chat, just make sure you hit thumbs up. It's free. It's a great way for you to support the channel, and all donations are appreciated the same, albeit monetary donations or you hitting the thumbs up button. All right.
Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news.
So as previously stated, McDavid's attorney's next line of questioning, it seems that it might give us a glance into McDavid, what their offense is really going to be looking like. And so here's what McDavid's attorney ended up saying. What happened between you and Derrel McDavid was after you tried to get this money from R. Kelly. McDavid told you very explicitly that if it was up to him, you wouldn't get a dime. Seemed very long, seemed like a statement, right? But it was really in the form of a question, to which the tape collector responded and said, that's false. They continue and say, isn't it true that McDavid called you a thief and a liar and said if it was up to him, you could go fuck yourself? Is it true that McDavid called you a thief and a liar and said if it was up to him, you could go F-U-C-K yourself? The tape collector responds to this question and says, no, he has never said that to me. So now McDavid's attorney is suggesting that the tape collector added McDavid to his story as revenge for McDavid for when McDavid told him years ago, the McDavid told him to F off years ago. That's essentially what happened, right? He's been trying to get this $1 million in total from R. Kelly and his camp for these tapes and the services. And truthfully, yeah, they claim they agreed to all this stuff, but he never got his $1 million that he was promised to. So now what his attorney is trying to say is, look, my client told you to go fuck yourself. And that's kind of like what happened because typically when the tape collector would call up to Robert or McDavid and be like, yo, I need some money. You haven't finished giving me my payment. They had a whole payment agreement. They had a whole contract. The last time that he reached out to him, Robert said the bank is closed. From there, he tried to file a lawsuit and all this other stuff. But nonetheless, McDavid's attorney is floating the theory that you're trying to get revenge on my client. It's not really about money. It's about revenge because he told you off. Again, the tape collector really only has proof, right, that he dealt with Palladino, who was a deceased detective. Again, so they're like, look, you trying to get revenge on my client because they told you to go F yourself, and you don't have no proof with my client. The only proof that you have is between yourself and Palladino. Although the tape collector ended up saying in all of their testimony yesterday, I do have to admit that I can remember that a lot of it was me, Palladino, and McDavid meeting. They involved those three names with every meeting with regards to the sex tape, at least in the tape collector's testimony. So McDavid's attorney says, do you feel bad at all for the things that you've done? The tape collector says, I've never tried to get money for doing something bad. I was just helping a friend. McDavid's attorney says, didn't you come to Chicago and threaten to hold a press conference in an effort to get money out of R. Kelly? The tape collector confirms. So now McDavid's attorney quickly shifts focus back to inconsistencies, specifically statements made to federal agents. So according to a DHS report, which is a Department of Homeland Security report, the tape collector says that he handed off the illicit tape of R. Kelly having intimate relations and urinating on a minor. The tape collector says he handed that tape off over to Palladino in a hotel in Kansas City. We know Palladino is the private detective that R. Kelly hired. The tape collector, their recollection of that night, according to the report, said that Palladino asked him to leave the room while he played the tape. Now, the tape collector only mentioned McDavid being present when he said McDavid came in from another room after Palladino watched. Details about who was standing where in the house. Look, even if that night was true and McDavid didn't see the tape, they definitely were privy to the behavior of their boss, right? R. Kelly was his boss. So it's trying to make it seem like, oh, I wasn't in the room when it was playing. I came in the room after. It's not about you literally seeing child porn in 2003. You had knowledge to it, whether you had your eyeballs on that TV screen or not. On another account, McDavid's attorney ends up kind of like quizzing in an interrogative fashion, right? It's given interrogation repeatedly, right? Over the government's objection, they're asking all these questions about the bills Palladino sent R. Kelly, which show only one meeting in Kansas City in 2001, not the multiple meetings that the tape collector alleges has transpired, which again, we heard a lot about that yesterday. They kept saying every meeting that they had, you had some meetings where they got money, some meetings where they didn't get money, some meetings where they snagged the tape, some meetings where they didn't snag the tape, some meetings where they just talked about how much is going to be given. He showed up with a contract for $1 million and he really felt like they were going to sign it. They said no. He showed up at the next meeting and there was a contract proposed by McDavid's attorney, according to the testimony. But of course, the contract didn't state, we're going to give you $1 million. The contract stated, we're going to give you $100,000, right? So McDavid's attorney is literally still going in, right? Very animated. The voice is growing louder. And there are even some aggressive tactics mixed into here, okay? And again, by form of quiz, he starts digging into some of the testimony that the tape collector gave on the stand yesterday, where he described a meeting at R. Kelly's mansion, right? This is one of R. Kelly's homes in Olympia Fields, where he was asked to strip down. The tape collector was asked to strip down so that R. Kelly and his associates would really understand, look, I'm not wearing a wire. I'm not trying to feed this conversation between us, private conversation. I'm not trying to feed it to anybody else. So they were asked to strip down butt naked. Okay. Now, the challenges to tape collector account is that he removed his shirt and that he walked into R. Kelly's pool to show that he wasn't wearing a wire, and that R. Kelly's associate took his clothes off and got in the pool as well. Now, according to this information and according to their testimony from yesterday, is that he said, look, I'm not getting naked and for nobody's pool. I'm not getting naked. But that the two of them stripped down to their underwear. That's what was said. That's what was said. That's what was said. That's what was said. So, the tape collector actually has given differing accounts of whether he got in and how deep the pool was. Those are fair questions to ask somebody, right? You claim you were over to my house. Where did the water come up on you or to or round about you at, right? Apparently there was some differences in the answers to those questions. And so due to the difference, the differing accounts on how deep the water was in the pool, McDavid's attorney says, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? The tape collector says, yes, it does. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So the tape collector said yesterday that McDavid showed him one of the tapes at R. Kelly's Olympia Fields home, but his statement to the federal grand jury said that R. Kelly and Brown were in the same room and there was no mention of McDavid. Again, an entire boxing match, because you got R. Kelly on trial with two other people, or three of them. So if R. Kelly can say something to point the finger at this person, that's what he's going to do. And if person to the right is going to place the blame or point the finger back at him, that's just what's going to happen when you have more than one defendant on a trial. So his statement to the tape collector's statement to the federal grand jury said that R. Kelly and Brown were in the room and there was no mention of McDavid. And so the response is the right word that I'm looking for, that is brought to the attention of the courts is, look, it happened 20 years ago. So I was confused, right? Because the inconsistencies were definitely noticed, right? It came to everyone's attention. And so when they're responding to this, right? The tape collectors responded to the inconsistency and saying, look, this happened 20 years ago. I was confused, right? Immunity, This is though probably the closest that the tape collector has gotten to admitting an inconsistency, because other than that, they avoided a lot of the inconsistency talk. Because honestly, a lot of what they were told the whole time they was up on the stand is, you're being inconsistent. You're being inconsistent. We got this prior testimony when you sat here. We got this prior testimony from, paperwork and when you filed an affidavit and all these other things. But nonetheless, this is the closest. I was confused because it was 20 years ago. It's the closest we're getting to admitting any sort of inconsistency from this individual. Okay. So the tape collector at this point is very comfortable with the inconsistencies. I mean, they're calm, they're cool, they're grinning, they're chuckling, they're sipping tea from a bottle. They're either denying the inconsistencies and saying that doesn't make much sense, does it? To which they get a response, yes, it does. Or they're offering up more clarity, or they're chalking it up to confusion because it was literally 20 years ago. Okay? Literally 20 years ago. All right. Let's see where we are. Almost at the end of this testimony. Okay, cool. So McDavid's attorney asked the tape collector if he notices a pattern, referencing his prior statements and how they do not mention McDavid's presence in certain meetings, but that the tape collector's trial testimony did. So McDavid's attorney ends up saying, now Derrel McDavid pops up. Like out of nowhere, Derrel McDavid pops up, right? Pointing out inconsistencies between real life events and the paper trail that they have. So the prosecutors object. So now the tape collector honestly doesn't have to answer, but the seed is already planted to the jurors. Okay. So McDavid's attorney ends his cross examination on the tape collector with this. McDavid's attorney establishes that, the immunity agreement that exists between the tape collector and the government, it's interesting because it protects the tape collector from everything but perjury, which is lying to the jury. So here's the very last thing that Derrel McDavid's attorney stated before the end of this cross-examination transpired. Derrel McDavid's attorney states that after what we've just gone through together, Mr. Freeman, I take it you must be very nervous about your future prosecution, right? The tape collector says no, right? Trying to leave him spooked and nervous, right? The tape collector will not be. No, I'm not protecting him because, child, I really feel like he doesn't deserve immunity, but I feel like the government is playing this big fish, little fish type of thing. Like, who is worse? Who's the lesser of two evils? Which is a crossroads a lot of us had to face when it came time to choose between Trump and Hillary Clinton. But that's a whole other conversation in and of itself. This testimony that we just concluded, just under 4 hours on the stand of fielding questions from McDavid's attorney, definitely pretty gruesome, definitely pretty goddamn long, longer than I wanted it to be. Okay? Very much so. Longer than I wanted it to be.
Oh my God.
All right, so it's 6:34 in the morning. We got 432 thumbs up, which honestly is really good. The 432 thumbs up, they're really good. We've got more to get into, but y'all know what time it is. It's the time on the broadcast where it's time to play a song. I'm from Baltimore, so Baltimore Club Mix, right? Dance, feel good music. It's really important to us, right? So I'm going to play this song. Hopefully I see y'all letting loose in the chat with some dancing emojis, with some pancake emojis. And hopefully you hit thumbs up as well. Let's get into this R. Kelly mix. Let's come right back. And we don't really have that much more to go, but we do need to get into R. Kelly's attorney's cross-examination. It's pretty interesting.
Baltimore, I can't see you. Where you at?
Y'all telling me with this. I can't help. I can't help.
Robert.
I can't help. I will. You're killing me, man! This ain't not about music! I'm trying to have a relationship with I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
At this point, we briefly pause the interview to give Kelly a moment.
Man, yo, let me put this. Yo, let me put this. Yo, let me put this. Yo, let me. Y'all trying to kill me. Yo, let me put this. Yo, let me put this. Yo, let me put this. Yo, let me put. Let me man. Trying to kill me. Trying to kill me. You don't want to believe it. Trying to kill me. Trying to kill me. I hope this camera keep going. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it.
Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. The Famecom Network, I really, really, really do appreciate that. Amazing by Default says tap shoe. I know that's right. Tapping your foot. I mean, you hearing Club Mix. You kind of can't help. You either gonna tap your foot, you moving around, you bobbing your head. Yeah, let's get it. Hey. Nothing like some good club music. Nonetheless, thank y'all for being here and showing love to the video and at least hitting thumbs up because it's free, right? I ain't asking you for no money, but I'm asking you for something. Hit that button and, consider subscribing if you feel like I'm a vibe. Let's get into more cross-contamination of the tape collector and how R. Kelly's attorney came at the tape collector. We know R. Kelly's lead attorney is Jennifer Bonjean. She came in hot. She came in hot. And she says, you and the government have gone through your story multiple times, and they don't even care whether you got it straight, do they? The prosecution says, objection, argumentative. The judge says it's sustained. R. Kelly's attorney proceeds and moves forward and says, is really asking the tape collector if they recall his former his former lawyer, right? R. Kelly's attorney is asking the tape collector if they recall their former lawyer, Michael Avenatti. If they recall that Michael Avenatti was present when he went before a Cook County grand jury in 2019. So at this point, the response to this is that the tape collector really does start to go on a bit of a disorganized rant, right? It's a little all over the place for sure. But R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, ended up cutting him off and said, I'm not doing that. Prompting and reminding him that, listen, this is a yes or no question. Let me say this. Y'all know I despise pedophiles. I do. And sometimes I let loose. Some people feel like I go too far. Some people feel like, oh, don't condemn him. Don't talk down on him. You're going to have to answer for your sins one day. You need to pray for him. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to take it easy on him because he's a pedophile, but I'm going to have to answer for my sins one day. And therefore, I shouldn't talk about R. Kelly being a pedophile because you think he deserves to be coddled. Okay. Fuck no. How about that? The fact that you even thought you could leave a comment like that to encourage me to not. Are you okay? I wonder about R. Kelly supporters. I wonder how you shuffle through your different drugs and how it affects your household. Because some of the R. Kelly supporters, I feel like they're on meth. Some of them, I feel like they're on crack. Some of them, I feel like they're on Tide Pods. Some of them, I think, are involved in cannibalism. But there's no way you're thinking straight. Defending a man that was caught on camera, who his fetish is to record these things on camera with children. You are eating all of the laundry detergent, all of the dish soap. How are you getting shit clean in your house? What's up with your kids and your kids' clothes? I mean, because bath salt, like stay away from the bath salt. Some of you smoking it. Seriously. Okay. I'm not going to pray for you, but I hope you stay away from me and my peoples. Not wasting God's time praying for. Let me continue with it because I'll get into a side tangent. Pray for him. You think I'm about to waste God's time praying for somebody that literally loves the logical rebuttals because they love to respond with willful ignorance? That's what you think I'm doing? I'm not praying for you. I'm praying that people who are like-minded, that are on the same line of thinking as you, I'm praying that y'all stay away from kids, but I'm not really like praying for y'all, like hoping that y'all have a better life because y'all are demented. It's clear, however, if you are a part of the R. Kelly support group. Call in at the end of the show. I would love to have an amazing conversation. Okay? Somebody says I'm blurry. I'm not blurry on my end. Maybe you should, let me see. Click the 3 dots ahead and check out your playback quality. Check out quality. You'll see 480, high picture, and all that stuff. But I'm not blurry on my end, and I'm looking on 3 different screens and monitors. Okay. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Some people are like, yeah, she's pretty clear. Okay. Drinking urine. Okay. See, we already know. Clearly, you're infected with the drug of your choice. But I just think that a lot of them, their brains are too soggy because they didn't sopped in. Like a biscuit sop up gravy in your green bean juice, your string bean juice. Sometimes their brain is just so surrounded with the urine so frequently that they can't think straight because they're just soggy minded. But we'll continue. So here we go. R. Kelly's attorney is asking whether the tape collector recalls his former attorney and whether Michael Avenatti was present when he went before a Cook County grand jury in 2019. The tape collector starts to go on a bit of a disorganized tangent, like a little rant, right? I can't deny that. I can't lie about that. Okay. And so Bonjean ends up, R. Kelly's attorney cuts him off and says, look, I'm not doing that. Ends up prompting and reminding him that, look, this is a yes and no question. So we move forward, and R. Kelly's attorney says, why would anyone need as many immunity deals as you have if you've been such a law-abiding citizen? Do you hear the shade in that question? Why would anyone need as many immunity deals as you have if you've been such a law-abiding citizen? The prosecution objected. The judge sustained. The judge actually jumped in here and said, listen, stop. That's like a when did you stop beating your wife type of question. Okay. So the judge said, cut that shit out. Inappropriate question is essentially, right, like my translation of what the judge's response was, right? So R. Kelly's attorney notes that the tape collector has immunity in many jurisdictions for many crimes. Listen closely. R. Kelly's attorney is saying, look, this tape collector, he's got immunity in all these jurisdictions for child pornography, extortion, soliciting bribes. She continues and she jokes and says, It would take me too long to actually name all of the things that, all of the crimes and all of the, it'll take me too long. The jury starts to snicker and laugh. The jury actually laughs because, again, this is R. Kelly's attorney who is saying that the tape collector has immunity in many jurisdictions for many crimes, child pornography, extortion, soliciting bribes, and it'll take me too long to get through them all. The jury began to laugh. Leo, what's going on? And what's that? What's going on? You interrupting the show like you got... What do you have to add? You just want me to pet you. Okay. Yeah, get it together. Because you breaking up the the consistency. Say hi. Say hi. Bye. He ain't saying nothing. He got me looking like I'm crazy, and he really does talk. So here we are. R. Kelly's attorney slips in a jab about the former attorney of the witness who was on the stand. The witness on the stand is a witness that I've been calling the tape collector this entire time. R. Kelly's attorney slips in a jab about the former attorney of the tape collector, Michael Avenatti. R. Kelly's attorney says, before your lawyer went to prison, did he secure immunity for you in this state of Missouri? R. Kelly's attorney is beyond insensitive, right? Not that we expect the defense, right, when you're defending the pedophile, not that we expect you to have a heart at all. Clearly, you don't have a heart. However, she wants to make it known that, yeah, your former attorney, they in jail. Matter of fact, they're in prison. Two different things. So now R. Kelly's attorney quickly shifts into insinuating that the tape collector is a thief. Is a thief. She runs down how R. Kelly came to know the tape collector, whom he actually met while he was handling merchandising for, it was a tour. He was on tour with Gerald Levert, as a matter of fact. His former band public announcement. Okay. Actually, R. Kelly at this time thought that the tape collector had stolen a custom-made jacket, and really he didn't. He didn't steal a custom-made jacket. I think he was probably enamored with R. Kelly, his star power, his visibility, and all that other stuff. That's just what I think, is that he was enamored. However, outside of what I think, the man actually bought a replica of the $3,500 coat jacket. So the jacket was actually $3,500. This man went and found and paid for a replica. Apparently the replica was good. R. Kelly thought that he bought it. Now, mind you, the replica was actually for R. Kelly's sibling, R. Kelly's brother. But this is that whole situation, right? So here goes R. Kelly's attorney being even more, what do you call it? Disrespectful? Leo, what are you doing? And what's that? You trying to be up here? Okay, well, can you get down? Or are you going to go back up there? Go ahead. Sit up there if that's what you want to do. Sit down. Yeah, well, sit down. You want to lay down? And that's really weird. In front of my whole face, you can't do that. Can you get down? Can you get down? Thank you. So here we go. R. Kelly's attorney, his lead attorney, ends up quickly shifting things to insinuating that the tape collector is a thief. R. Kelly's attorney quickly runs down how R. Kelly came to know the tape collector, whom he met while he was handling merchandise for a tour with R. Kelly's former band, Public Announcement, and R. Kelly thought that the tape collector had stolen a custom-made jacket. R. Kelly's attorney says, of all the people in the world he could have found to help him get these tapes is a thief who did merchandising for him, right? You were a part of the shakedown scheme, right? So they're basically saying of all the people in the world that he could find help to get him these tapes, he found a t-shirt salesman to help him get these tapes back. The tape collector ends up denying said things, right? He definitely denies being a thief and says that he had no idea what was on the tapes when R. Kelly reached out. Now, R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bone-Jean, ends up saying that, without a doubt, what was on the tapes, you decided that $1 million seemed like the right number, right? How'd you come up with that number? The tape collector says, I just threw a number out there with Jack Palladino and Derrel. It was bait, and they took it. So now R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bone-Jean, confronts the tape collector. R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bone-Jean, confronts the tape collector with a major difference between current testimony and a prior grand jury testimony. So the tape collector says it's not inconsistent, right? Their testimony is not inconsistent. It's that the people who put his prior statement together, they jumbled stuff up together. And that's what they did. So he's being called out between the difference in what he's saying now, what he said prior, in person and in affidavits. Okay. And although he's being told, listen, this is inconsistent with what you said prior, he said, no, it's not inconsistent. It's that people who put together, prior statements, they jumbled things up. They jumbled them together. So essentially, he's lying with a straight face. That's the bottom line. He's lying with a straight face. R. Kelly's attorney ends up saying, why sign a contract that didn't reflect the supposed actual $1 million agreement that you're talking about? The tape collector says, hired me because he knew I could get the job done. Just like R. Kelly hired you to get the job done, right? R. Kelly's attorney says, well, I don't break the law to get the job done. That's the difference between you and me. What is really going on? What's going on?
So let's see if you really about it. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. So let's see if you really about it. If you've been serious about what you've been saying about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. I found a spot for us to grab our hats, hoodies, affordable electronics, phone accessories, and gadgets from. It's over on edwerso.com. That's edwersow.com. Grab something for your hubby, your wife. Hey, I ain't encouraging that side chick behavior, but it's just in time for the holidays. So head on over there and grab your AirPod cases, hoodies, and affordable electronics. That's edwersow.com, edwersow.com. And I'll see you over there. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you like more of my particular brand of syrup.
Wi-Fi issues that literally had me about to lose my mind. I lost I lost like almost 100 people. I lost like 75 people with that internet issue. Nonetheless, we don't have a whole bunch to go over, but we still need to go ahead and finish up. Okay. R. Kelly's attorney, we're just going to pick up where we left off. R. Kelly's attorney ended up saying, why you sign a contract that don't reflect the supposed actual $1 million agreement you keep talking about? Why would you sign that type of contract? The tape collector ends up saying, I took them at their word. R. Kelly hired me because I knew I could get the job done, just like he hired you to get the job done. R. Kelly's attorney ends up saying, well, I don't break the law to get the job done. That's the difference between you and me. Let me tell you about this point in the courtroom. And we really don't, yeah. Let me tell you about where we are in the courtroom and the jury's response. The jurors were actually very engaged. They were very interested in what was going on in the courtroom. They were very interested. It was a colorful day, right? The entire time that the defense is trying to get Showtime, trying to get Charles Freeman to crack. He's not. Like, he's playing them. You can tell that he practiced. You can tell that he annoyed the defense. You could tell that he gave him a ran for their money. He was combative. He was amused. He's smirking. He's actually, he's actually chuckling. He's chuckling. He's laughing. He's sipping tea. He's really getting under their skin. He's really getting under their skin. Big time. Okay. And so, like I said, the jury was very engaged and interested earlier, especially as amped up as the attorney on behalf of McDavid was, doing a lot of finger pointing. They're getting smart with one another. But now, literally now, as we speak, even though you've got R. Kelly's attorney and the witness going back and forth, the jury is tired. The jury is disengaged, and a lot of them are starting to stare off into space. This was probably an interesting day for them to start. Yesterday, it was nothing but numbers. You had spreadsheets and them trying to prove that certain expenses actually existed. You've got them trying to prove via flight tickets that, R. Kelly wanted to send the girl from the tape, Reshonda Sparkle's niece, and her family out of the country. So let's pull that up, and let's also pull up how one of R. Kelly's associates was actually sent over there to babysit Reshonda and her family. So they're just like pulling up all sorts of reports yesterday. So yesterday, definitely, I can get why people called it boring. It was probably one of the more boring days as it pertains to my research. However, the grand scheme of things is it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. And so again, the jurors were very engaged and interested. Earlier when this thing started, like I said, the attorney on behalf of McDavid, okay, from finger pointing, getting smart, all types of other stuff, everyone's tired. And R. Kelly's attorney ends up asking about how the tape collector was able to travel to Georgia to retrieve tapes in 2001. So the courts were able to confirm that there were never any addresses or sensitive information with regards to like phone number and any things of that nature, right? And R. Kelly's attorney was able to identify R. Kelly's attorney, in the midst of them asking questions, they were able to prompt the witness on the stand, who's actually the tape collector, right? Was able to get them to confirm that they never provided the government with addresses, homes, or even the area in which the home was located, right? So this witness has seen the tape. Okay, this is a witness that has actually seen the tape. But they're saying that although they were privy to where they got the tape from, the address, the home, the area of the home, they never admitted to that. And they were also, at the same time, the tape collector was able to identify scenes on tape that they'd found, tapes and photos of the house as it existed at that time. So again, like we, and I put some of the stuff, I think it might have been day 3 or 4, wood paneling, a specific jacuzzi. There are some people, if you've seen the tape, you've seen the tape. If you didn't, you didn't. But just think about any movie or any X-rated tape that you would watch. You would watch the video. And if you were ever presented with a still shot of said video, that's kind of like what you would recognize it if that's part of the like regular legal porn that you watch. You know what I mean? So now we have R. Kelly's attorney asking the tape collector about a tape that he testified that he purchased in California. Now, he testified that he purchased this in California. This is a confirmation that he literally purchased child porn. Like, come on now. I just don't know how crazy you can get. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to participate in something to acknowledge how idiotic the admittance of, certain evidence is. And for you to, admit, right? For you to have done it anyway, but for you to have admitted that you purchased this, it's crazy. The tape collector ended up confirming that they brought the alleged child porn, the 2008 R. Kelly case, centered around. So they admit that they bought the tape. So, and that's what the expenses had to do with. You'll see there's the contract that I shared earlier, where it was $100,000 and $40,000 worth of expenses. If you're being hired to come on and retrieve tapes or any type of contraband or whatever, if you're trying to get any of that back, you might need some money to convince people. Okay? So the tape collector ends up saying, look, I brought several tapes. And they also, again, they're admitting to purchasing child porn. And I just can't believe the immunity deal covers this. It's really bombastic to me. But okay. Now we have R. Kelly's attorney that is actually let's try to ask if he's ever seen the video at the center. We're still at cross-examination. Still at cross-examination. and trying to get a straight answer out of the tape collector is like trying to nail jello to a tree, because he's gonna talk all like just all around the world, all around the world, all around the world. So now R. Kelly's attorney is trying to ask if he's seen the tape, right? If he's seen the video at the center of the 2008 trial. He said in the federal grand jury affidavit that he had seen the video, but he's all over the place, and even reporters, right, who are present aren't able to follow his answers. Everyone, it's been a long day. It's been a long day in that courtroom, and overall, it really has. One person on the stand the whole time. The defense is taking cracks at him and trying to, as if they're swinging at a physical pinata, but put that in a metaphorical sense. Everyone's patience is wearing thin. And so the tape collector ends up asking R. Kelly's attorney, "Are you calling me a liar?" R. Kelly's attorney says, "Yeah, I'm calling you a liar. And I'm calling you a thief. And I'm calling you an extortionist." So the tape collector says, "You called me a liar. And, if I was an extorter, you could have called the police. You should have called the police and you should have had me arrested, but you didn't. So clearly I'm not an extortionist." And R. Kelly's attorney says, "I have no idea what he's talking about." The judge says, "Can we finish this up?" I mean, talk about the chaos. Talk about the chaos here. Like, that is beyond chaotic. The judge don't want to have anything else to do with it. She trying to sneak in, calling the witness on the stand, all types of names. And when the witness bases on her a little bit, because that's what it was. It was some base. "You calling me a liar?" And if I was in, and I'm not denying that the person is, what I'm saying is R. Kelly's attorney dished out a certain amount of energy, and they got that same amount of energy back. That's what I'm saying, right? Because I still despise the tape collector, because for my own reasons, right? They say, "You calling me a liar? If I was an extorter, you could have called the police. You should have called the police and had me arrested, but you didn't." Bone Jean, before he could even get to elaborating on those sentiments, "I don't know what he's talking about." You've been trying to press his buttons on purpose, because that's part of your job, to press his buttons, to get him out of character, to get him to have instances where he's blurting out and other people are able to perceive them in a way where it's kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's self-control." No. You gave out a certain amount of energy, and you thought that this individual was scared of the courtroom and courtroom perceived demeanor, right? Which is what we call respectability politics. You thought that they were going to be scared enough to the point where they wasn't going to give you some of that nice, nasty energy back, and actually just like reduce some of the nice out of the nice, nasty concoction. Girl, you got it right back. They got you.
It was gone. Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
Either way, the judge ain't impressed. I'm impressed, because I'm my old life. All I do is read all day. I'm like, they just sat there and said this or did it. When I get some action, I'm like, oh, it's action. Judge said, "Can we finish this up? It's been long enough." The judge is not having it. I don't blame the judge. The tape collector said that after he turned over the tape to law enforcement in 2019, he tried to contact someone who knew Reshona Landfair, the girl from the tape. He says, "I tried to reach out to Reshona Landfair's people and let her know I had information about them being on the tape, but ultimately nothing came of it." Brief stuff here. Okay, yeah. So that's that, right? So the cross-examination on behalf of R. Kelly toward this witness, who technically their legal name is Charles Freeman. However, I call him the tape collector because that was literally their job title, duty, and description. We get into the next round of cross-contamination, which is literally Milton June Brown and their attorney and what they have to say. Her name is Mary Judge. Again, R. Kelly's not on trial by himself. He's got two other co-defendants. One was his manager, one was his assistant. Milton June Brown was his alleged assistant. And so the tape collector testified yesterday that he sued all three of the defendants in the 2009 lawsuit to get his money back. But this attorney here ends up showing him the actual lawsuit, and Brown isn't named on it. Now Brown is their litigant, is the individual that they're representing. So the tape collector said, hey, I'm suing R. Kelly, I'm suing that damn Derrel McDavid, and I'm suing that damn Milton Brown, right? And they testified as if they sued all three. However, they didn't. The paperwork literally stated that they only sued R. Kelly and Derrel McDavid. Okay? And so here's what Brown's attorney said about it, because essentially Brown's goal is, my client's name is Bennett and they ain't in it. You said you sued my client, but so Milton Brown's attorney says, today you're learning that you never sued Milton Brown. Is that right? The tape collector said, correct. That's pretty much it as it pertained to Milton Brown's cross-examination. That was pretty much it. The prosecution goes in for redirect examination, and they start showing off the tape collector's documentation that says that his prior under oath statements are intended as summaries, not the complete story. And if questioned further, he could provide more information. Now, prosecutors are asking, why is there a difference between your trial testimony and your federal grand jury statement about what was in the room when you were shown a certain tape? The tape collector ends up responding, it's so many things. I'm just trying to remember the events that happened. I just remember seeing the tape, end quote. The tape collector also reiterates on redirect that it was Derrel McDavid and Jack Palladino who hired him on behalf of R. Kelly, and Derrel McDavid is the one who paid him. Then he's off the stand. And when we talk about we're talking about that guy that was on the stand all day today, right? We're talking about the tape collector, Sparkle's niece, Reshonda Landfair. So he leaves the stand, and then the prosecution has the nerve to ask if they should call their next witness. Judge Lennon Weber says, I think everybody's had enough. When I tell you that's the best thing that I have heard from that judge, period. And it's not that I've seen a whole bunch of paperwork that made me like upset. Like, thank goodness that judge made that goddamn decision. Thank goodness. You know how long they've been in court? All goddamn day. He's up there, like, first of all, he was on the stand yesterday, given direct, examination from the government and so on and so forth. And all of the 7 to 8 hours that we had today, he's being grilled by the defense, whether it be R. Kelly, whether it be McDavid, or whether it be Brown. It's just a lot that's going on. And I'm tired of it, y'all. I'm tired of it, y'all. Here's what we can do. We can expect tomorrow that the government will have additional witnesses that they say is going to be on the stand. I'm looking into something right now. I caught wind of something where we got the Ken, not Sparkle, But we got the kin of Sparkle's niece and her mom and everything, making some decisions that really just don't assist the prosecution's attempt and what they are trying to do. So we'll see how much of that I can get into and elaborate upon tomorrow, outside of me doing all I can do to make sure I can keep y'all updated. But this, are you not embarrassed? Are you not embarrassed? This was a pretty interesting case and scenario and day in court. It was definitely a bit more colorful than yesterday. You got somebody to sit there like sipping tea. They don't care. Are you having fun? Yeah, I'm having fun. What's next? It's pretty crazy. But the prosecution says they plan to call another one of R. Kelly's, again, sexual assault abuse victims, and more than one of them. So that will be interesting. There are a few other upcoming trials that R. Kelly has coming up. Of course, his fans think that he's innocent and he'll beat them, whatever the case is. Listen, here's what time it is. It's time to wrap this thing up. But let's see if an R. Kelly supporter might call in. I will open the phone lines. And mind you, I'm dropping the link phone number, the way in which you can call into the show. I'm only interested in talking to individuals who support R. Kelly. Okay. I'm only looking for callers who want to support R. Kelly. If you call in and you don't support R. Kelly, I'm going to hang up on you. So I've dropped the link. R. Kelly supporters have about 2 minutes. If they'll call in, we can have a respectful conversation. All right. So I've dropped it. I'll drop it a couple of other times. Drop some pancakes, hit thumbs up if you have not already. Okay. And I'll see you in 120 seconds. All right.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
So wait a minute, you ain't joined the channel yet so that you can access special perks over here with the plainest Jane?
Rolex on your wrist, a plain Jane.
Ooh, watch this. Hey, I'm the plainest Jane. I'm a cultural commentator and informant, and I provide sticky coverage on trending stories, black news, black culture, and everyday topics with a sticky, abstract perspective. So get familiar with the perks. I've carefully curated all of these things, and it's just a little exclusive glaze to amplify the way that you express yourself. So get comfortable, get used to our official emoji over here. That is the pancake stack, because it's always sticky in Hollywood and in real life, and especially when you spend the time over here with the plainest Jane. Like I said, I hope you enjoy the exclusive glaze that I've provided for you to amplify the way you express yourself, and I hope you enjoy the digital vibe. Hey, listen, I always want you to keep it sticky, but be sure to think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. But most importantly, I hope that you're feeling all right, and hopefully you've had some time to tackle some of your invisible problems. I know I got a couple of new subscribers, and I just want to say thank y'all. I really do appreciate you. And if you're not quite feeling all right, this channel right here, once you join, it's going to help you kick back and decompress always, but it'll also keep you in the know with what's happening with the best black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. So again, get comfortable. The first drink is on me, all right? Act like you got some sense, and I'll see you around. But don't forget to keep it sticky 24/7 by following me on Instagram, but hit that notification bell so that you always know when I upload and you get your dose of syrup first. Now, with all that stickiness being said, the most important thing I want you to remember about this neck of the woods and the plainest Jane is Black Lives Matter. And if you don't agree,
buy pumpkin. That would take you out. I don't play that shit.
Now you gotta go for real.
It's just that simple. Hey, look, whether you join or not, I do want you to stay beautiful, black, and blessed. And just know I appreciate your support. I'm your girl, the plainest Jane. And let's see what's happening in these virtual streets. You ready? All right, now. This could be a crazy ride. I'm warning you now.
All right, and we are back. None of the R. Kelly supporters are willing to defend their king. None of them are willing to call and defend their king. All right, it could be because of just like not tolerating any nonsense as it pertains to them calling in, right? And when I say nonsense, I just mean disrespect. You know, I just require a regular dialogue, and I do have boundaries when you call into my show. You're not going to overtalk me. You're not going to derail the conversation. You're not going to ask me rhetorical questions. And then when I answer them, you want to skip over them. And then when I ask you questions, you want to skip over them and deflect and turn the conversation into something totally different, which essentially is the definition of derail. So I did have a lot of people who were willing to call in before I laid those types of boundaries down. And now I realize that, like, yeah, I thought y'all were going to call into my show and get over every time. So now that I've laid the boundaries down, when I get any calls from the P-Hive, but I know the P-Hive is here and I know that they watch. I know that for a fact. I saw somebody in the chat say she doesn't acknowledge super chats. I absolutely acknowledge super chats. However, when this is a highly, all of what I'm giving you the day by day, like I'm giving you everything that happened in the courtroom with R. Kelly today on that same day. High research. It requires a lot of research. And so sometimes I'll take 10 or 15 minutes in my mind and block it off and say, just go through the information, as opposed to going through 2 minutes of information, engaging with the chat and reading comments, another 2 minutes engaging with the chat. Like that can be annoying. And I get that. So there are some times where I try to block out the chat. Not that I'm not appreciative of the chat and the engagement, but I like to give sprouts of just here's the information. And then 15 or so minutes later, I look up and I look at the chat and acknowledge a few comments. But I do get a lot of comments to the point where I can't respond to all of the comments on live. And I'm also concerned and very invested in the quality of the stream of the playback, right? After the live is done. Because watching me live is one thing. I'm fun as hell, but $20 super chat says you don't get enough love or recognition for your dedication and consistency to your craft, sis. Plus, can we be friends? Love your ambition and spirit. Oh, thank you so much, Lashayna Monique. I do appreciate the $20 super chat. It means a hell of a lot. There have been a lot of people who joined the membership too, and thank each and every one of y'all. I would really love to talk to each and every person who joins the membership and whatever. But like I said, I am concerned about the playback and people having a really efficient experience if they're chasing the bus, if they didn't catch it in real time. And so that's why I spend certain blocks of time, you know, getting to things. But I typically get to all the super chats and things. Thank you so much, Chelsea Ulcer, for becoming a channel member. I appreciate that as well. I did see that there was some arguments in the chat earlier. I couldn't get into what it was. I really couldn't. Okay. Because it was going to throw me off if I really like read. But I did see that there was some arguments, and I'm just like, look, behave. Like, and that's why when people call into the show or when I open the phone line or whatever the case is, it's just like, I got to tell you to respect me. Like, you calling in on my show and my platform. It's like it's like picking up the phone. If somebody call your phone, you say, hello, can you respect me first before you get started? Can you make sure you show some respect and that you don't talk over me and that you don't disrespect me? Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to listen. Like, a disclaimer is cool. And I have way more than enough disclaimers, right? I'm like, make sure your week is like, make sure your mental health is okay. Make sure you think critically and independently, trigger warning because of that. And then I got to answer the phone and open the phone lines, and I still got to shoot off 3 disclaimers, and people still act like they don't get it. They still act like they don't understand the fundamental, like the basic element of having to respect somebody, even if and when you disagree. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean y'all gotta be ops. Like, it doesn't mean that you can't like have a discussion. People are it can be weird in that sense, but I do understand the the diversity of perspectives, right? Like an echo chamber, an echo chamber is one thing, but I do enjoy having the different perspectives on, so that they can share their knowledge. Obviously I'm pretty passionate about people who defend, pedophiles, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to having a conversation, right? So somebody sent me this. When y'all send me still shots from the video, I like literally crack up. Like me and Leo, we doing it. I got another still shot. Let me show y'all this one. Hold on. Somebody sent me this still shot the other day. They sent me this still shot the other day. Let me tell you. Okay. And I use it too. I use it on Twitter. Like people, you start look, you can call in if you support R. Kelly. If you're respectful, we can have a conversation. We can both get our points off and boom. You know what I mean? But that don't mean that I'm not gonna make no faces. If you're literally like victim blaming and stuff, like, yeah, I'm gonna make some faces. What is going on? Like, what is going on? Yeah, so I do be making faces and whatnot, but yeah, I like when y'all send me stuff. It really does crack me up. It does. I've had a couple memes sent to me. I'm just not bold enough to like really use my own memes, but I hope that y'all have had an amazing week thus far. Okay. It is Thursday. Technically, right? All the days fly together. Like when I'm covering this R. Kelly trial stuff, like y'all have no clue how stressful it is. Yeah, it's 5:00 in the morning. It's Thursday. So we got today and tomorrow left to go. And boom, we done. Okay. I need to go to bed. It's 5:00 in the morning. My sleep schedule is messed up. Obviously, I've been out with y'all around this time for basically all week, right? I haven't really had any earlier videos. And now my sleep schedule is so skirt that I'm wide awake and I know I need to go to bed, but I'm still sitting up here though, just because it's terrible. I'm trying to fix it. I get an hour for lunch and I take 30-minute naps during my lunch. Because I'm like hustling, trying to make sure whatever. If I skip a day, it's really hard on me when I have to come back and give y'all 2 days in a row, whether I combine it or put it in 2 different videos. Like it takes so much. It's a birthday in the chat. Happy birthday, Tanya. Okay, Tanya. Happy birthday. Okay. Okay, Tanya. So yeah, I try to, like having work-life balance, like there's kind of like no such thing. And that's why when I do take time off, I really just enjoy myself and that's it. Because there's really no such thing as times off. So yeah, we're gonna be on here for another, let's see, how long we're gonna be on here? We're gonna be on for another, like, let's just say like 5 or so minutes. Right, I'm gonna just hang out with y'all. Happy birthday to Tanya in the chat. We're gonna drop the link one more time, okay? Just to see if anybody wants to call in, and then we're gonna go on about our business. Okay, there's a lot of people wishing you happy birthday, Tanya. Okay, you might as well call in if you've been playing games, if you've been taunting to call in, Okay? You might as well just call in. You might as well. Okay? I got a little extra time. It's 5:11. But anyway, I do hope that y'all have had an amazing week thus far. Everything is pretty much a blur to me with me like work, my regular life. I don't really get a lot of me time. I can't lie. I don't get a lot of me time. And I do practice mental health, mental health is important. But I know this time is gonna come and it's gonna go. The R. Kelly trial was only gonna be here for 4 weeks. So I saw somebody asking, when is it gonna start? When is it going to end? There's not gonna be many other, and a lot of people are refinding me based off of the trial. So I don't really have time to be letting people down. And again, y'all know I had to start over again with this teeny channel. So it's a great time to capitalize and to stay busy. And I need challenges to even feel like I deserve to live. It might sound bleak, but I really just need to be challenged. I don't like being bored. I can't stand it. So I always kind of need to feel challenged and then to feel satisfied, because I set things that are a little out of my reach. I set goals and destinations that are a little outside of my reach. But by the time and if and when I reach them, there's enough of those type of endorphins from when you reach a goal. I hit it and I'm like, okay, cool. I got it. It keeps me satisfied. But if I get bored and I'm not setting new things, then I don't really have anything to offer. And it's weird. And that's why I got to stay busy. I have some people that are like, yo, you need to give a trigger warning because your logo moves around too much. Let me see if I can get the logo to pop up now. Hold on. Okay, so you see that? You see how, and there's some people who really feel like that can cause a seizure. And I probably get about 5 messages a month about it. They feel like it's just too much going on with that logo moving around above my head. And they're like, yeah, I'm about that. You need to put a trigger warning on here. Some people, literally a handful of people joke about it, but there are other people who actually are disabled and they really feel like I'm doing a disservice because, you know what I mean? And I'm like, there are certain commercials with different lightings and different transitions and stuff that do that. And if it really falls into those bounds, then the FCC or whoever will come after you and let you know, yeah, you got to put a warning on this. It's not like it's strobe lights. I understand what epilepsy is and different things of that nature. This just really isn't the end of the world. And if a lot of people comment and they're like, oh, I almost had a seizure, or I could have had a seizure, or I really have this, that, or the third. You need to start a podcast. I wish you would do a podcast so I didn't have to look at the screen. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with you just acting like it's a podcast when you click on it if the image is too much for you? You telling me to turn these episodes into a podcast so that you don't have to look. You can put this video on and not look and treat it like a podcast. But they really be having me feel like I'm doing something wrong and I'm contributing to somebody's seizure or something. Y'all, I wish y'all could understand how many messages I get. It's not too many, but it's enough to make me feel like, a couple of y'all from the disabled, a great, you know what I'm saying? Y'all acting like I'm doing a disservice to the disabled community because you feel like this will contribute to a seizure. Come on now. Come on now. It's you got to read everything. Read into everything. I get the different words that artists are editing out their songs and different things of that nature, but nonetheless, the meantime and the between time, the point of the matter is, I'm don't watch it or just don't look at the screen. If the screen is too much, you won't keep staring at the screen and then blame it on me. What's going to happen to your health, your body, and how you feel and how you think? However it affects you when you look at things that negatively affect your vision, you keep watching after you done left a comment with me. and you don't do nothing to, you feel like, oh man, watching her videos hurts my eye or does this to my, like, you never click away. And then you come back and you watch it some more. What do? You blame it on me? Like, and I'm not trying to sound rude, but it's like, if you talk about like your health, having a seizure or some type of epileptic situation, and you feel like my channel contributes to that, you should take care of your health and not watch it. Like, right? Like, I shouldn't even. Am I wilding out? Am I wilding out? I'm just like, I gotta tell you not to watch. I had somebody tell me like they didn't like a certain series that I have when I talk about issues under the flag. Whole another thing, right? I ain't trying to get too heavy because I'm feeling very carefree right now. But I don't like this series. I'm really tired of this series from you, Jane, because, you know, I'm part of the LGBT community and I'm not a pedophile. And I'm like, first of all, number one, if you don't like the series, don't watch it. I'm not going to make the series less because you're a channel, you know. And then something else. And they were saying this publicly in the chat while I'm getting ready to come on and do the video. 2 videos back to back. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. However, you're not like listening to the premise, and it's very simple. And I over-explain it. Like, I over-explain it to the point where people get annoyed. They're like, oh, you repeated yourself so much. I'm like, you don't get it, because some people who are part of the community, right? And I'm talking about issues under the flag, and I'm not a part of the community. I'm talking about people who have hijacked that movement. I'm talking about people who have infiltrated, and they come in and they use that label and their identity as a loophole to get over on indoctrinating or feeding whatever type, treating our children all type of crazy. And no, I don't, being attracted to minors is not a sexuality. And these are some of the things I repeat. I'm tired of this series because I'm part of the LGBT and I'm not a pedophile. When did I say that the LGBT community are pedophiles? A lot of my friends are a part of that community. And I know it doesn't represent them, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And which is why they try to help me understand better ways to convey. But people keep telling somebody to call in. Hold on. Here go the link. Here go the link if somebody want to call in. But yeah, it's just thank you so much, Latoya. I do appreciate you. You know, it's just kind of like, don't watch. Like, if there's a certain smell in a certain area or a certain time, let's say I'm allergic to like the smell or the essence of coconut. It makes me itch like crazy, makes my throat swell up. And I know at a certain date and at a certain time and from a certain source, it's always going to smell like that. I'm going to protect my health. Like, I'm going to protect my health. And if it's that certain place, that certain time, that certain person, area, I don't want to itch. I don't want my throat to close up, so I won't go around there. You know what I mean? Like, people be acting like I'm supposed to. First of all, I'm never going to be able to please everybody. Like, never. So me continuously changing, trying to come from 1 or 2 different people's advice, that doesn't work at all anyway. But I am open to different conversation. Y'all keep telling Chris to call in. I don't even know what's going on with Chris, but I'm dropping the link. Just tell folks CFC, just like me, to shrink their screen and minimize to a minimize side. Oh, I gotta choose. The way the screen won't trigger. That way the screen won't trigger that. So you just approximately as well. Oh, shrink the screen. All right now. Now if y'all watch, y'all can see these instructions here. 400. It was 400 pieces of evidence. The Famecom Network says, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. F them people. They get enough catering too during the day. There's plenty of alternative options. That's true. That is true. I guess what's the person y'all was talking to, Chris? Chris don't want to call in, y'all. Chris don't want to call in. And we trying to talk to Chris. Apparently there was a Jason as I scrolled up, but that was on another thing. Some people were here, some people weren't. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and go. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all have an amazing week. Okay, it's Thursday. We got a couple more days to go, and this week will continue to fly by. Can you believe summer's almost over? Like August is literally almost gone, and I cannot believe that. August, where'd you go? I don't know. I know that I need you. Yeah, like where did August go? I just have no clue. Like what's going on? Anyway, I hope y'all have an amazing day. And y'all say beautiful, black, and blessed. Listen, make sure y'all let me know how you feel about all things discussed in this video. I'm going to bed. Let me know how you feel about all things discussed in this video. Let me know how you feel about the Beehive. Let me know how you feel about the testimony today. Let me know if you feel like the government is going to bring up what R. Kelly's attorney has been tweeting, although she literally set out her mouth in the courtroom. I won't tweet about the situation, but she's out here retweeting stuff. You know, the government, the prosecution, like they already had brought up information and the annoyance of her being on social media about it. So let's see if they're going to talk about it tomorrow or this morning when court is in session, when court starts back up tomorrow. I'll be curious to see. I feel like that's a violation. She says she wouldn't tweet, but she's retweeting stuff and typing stuff to go along with the retweet. Like, no, somebody need to crack down. Somebody need to crack down because she done lost her everlasting mind. Okay, she really has. Nonetheless, I think Showtime and who else? The tape collector. I think he practiced. I mean, he sat there with a nice composed demeanor the entire time. The t-shirt salesman is the condescending name that McDavid's attorney ended up giving to him. He was amused. He's chuckling. He's grinning the entire time, sipping his tea. Successfully annoyed the defense from R. Kelly's attorney to McDavid's attorney. They were all pretty fed up at the fact that they couldn't crack at him. Like they couldn't get him to crack and get nervous. He did have some moments where he had some inconsistent testimony, but he just, how do you say it? Is lie the word? He just moved forward and said, wait till the transcripts come out. We'll be reading more of the transcripts backstage, but it was pretty interesting. It was definitely like a movie. But nonetheless, I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. I can't wait to get as soon as I got my hands on more of the documents and the exhibits that they were showing in court, I'll go ahead and bring it to you backstage for all of the channel members. Okay? Because y'all know y'all get things early, and then we have our members only lives and different posts and information and all that other stuff. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. Y'all make sure y'all keep it sticky and real until the next time that we speak to one another. And drop some pancakes and stay beautiful, black, and blessed. All right?
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.